an owning position. People will always tell you what to do, opinion how to live. So let's create space for the manners most of you. You'll be glad you did. Now start claiming your time and your mental well-being by saying no more. No more. Say it loudly and proudly. In other words, fuck you. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Mature audiences only. Welcome back. It's been a few days. Hope everyone is well. I'm gonna just kind of prattle on for a few minutes while we wait for people to come in and see how everyone is so far today. Everything's looking pretty good. I've got the most reflective glasses I think I have on, so we'll may have to change those around. Welcome TR Finley. Welcome Ticky Tack. Welcome Carney's Ride. All right, look at all these cool dudes. Let's see, who else is in here this fine morning. Christmas Monday. Intel Wild was first in the chat. What a Chad. What a Chad. Nick, the TVT is in the house. Good to see you. Good to see you all. It's going to be a good day. Just going to kind of chill. I didn't make an announcement or anything. I haven't spammed out throughout the land of chat to tell people that I'm live. Maybe I should have. I just didn't. And we're just basically just going to chill a little bit here to start with. And apparently I've got the wrong gadget up here. Got chat on everything, so that is weird. We'll go ahead and fix that. There we go. Just put that right there. That's way better. Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and put that down. Michelle, it's your wedding anniversary. 13 years. That is awesome, Miss Michelle. That is very cool. I didn't get you a gift. I'm sorry. I didn't know either. Let me see if these are any less reflective. About the same. About the same. Let me So the thing is if you have glasses that are good for working in front of the computer, then unfortunately that generally means that they're coated with like a blue blocker or something like something like that. And those coatings tend to be very reflective, and which is annoying as hell when you're trying not to have reflections. So while I'm waiting on people to show up and come on in, it'll be cool. Coco Shuko, good to see you in the chat. Papa Shango. All right. Michelle, it's good to see you back. It's been, you've been kind of erratic. I know you're very busy. This must be a busy time of the year for Michelle and all the other mothers out there. The live shared out. All right. Thank you. Nick, that is awesome. So it's been a few days since I've been on. I've been not avoiding you guys at all by any means. Friday night, which I would normally have done a show, I ended up having to go to another city, close by, but still another city. I drove, and we were supposed to leave Friday afternoon. We did not. So the at the end of the day, it was I didn't get the things done that I needed to do, and I wasn't able to stream Friday night. Saturday night, I had a meeting, or Saturday I had a meeting about the business that I'm buying, and that meeting went well. Actually, went very well, and it looks like we're probably going to put in an offer on that. And see if we can't buy it. We'll run through some stuff on that here shortly. And then we've got there's some other assorted things going on as well. Give me one sec. And but again, I'm just going to kind of chill out for a minute until we get until we can get some more people in the chat. We've got like 14 in here so far. We're going to get we'll keep it rolling. How I got corrected so bad. Wow. Oh, autocorrect got you. Cranks ride dust. I don't believe that Carney rides dust. He's probably not that bad. Welcome, Midnight Newton. Good to see you back in the chat. So at any rate, yep, out buying a business, and looks like we're going to go forward with that. And then additionally, we've had a lot going on. We just really had a lot going on. It's been busy, and it's so Sunday I don't stream. Yesterday was awesome. I got to tell you guys, one of the things that if I could have picked anything in life that I did not realize would make me as happy as it does, I never would have dreamed that this would have been the case, but it is. There's nothing better in my life right now than either working in my garage on some little project or sitting on the couch watching some TV while my sons play. My older son will be generically he's reading or something like that. My younger son will be playing, and my wife is playing piano. And just that dynamic of having so much peace in my life at one time is ridiculous. It's amazing. And I never actually. So when my wife wanted to get the piano, I wasn't against it. I just didn't think it was going to be something that that would matter much. Just whatever. You want a piano? Get a piano. Whatever. And I don't know why, but she just had to go do it right then. So we did. Went out and bought and it's an electric piano. It's not a big piano. It's a small. It's not a keyboard, but it's electric piano. Great sound though. And it's just so awesome to just sit back, enjoy life. I never would have guessed, if you'd asked me, I never would have guessed that I would have found something so simple, so valuable in my life. And it's very interesting. And it's very cool. So there are things that we don't know that we will value until we get them. And so you should always pay attention to what's going on. Yeah. Anyway, so so we're going to talk a little bit about business today. We're going to talk about some politics, not very many, and also some of the stuff that's been going around the internet. My gosh, all of the people everywhere is talking about the end of no-fault divorce and all of these things, and it's very, very cool to listen to all the different aspects of it. At least from my, pardon me, at least from my point of view, it's very interesting to see all the different aspects of what's going on right now with in the different factions. I watched Rob Noor and Jasmine Jafar debate that subject. I thought it was interesting. I've watched Glenn talk about it. I watched the panel debate, some of it on Sarah's, and it's really interesting to me, guys. It really is. This is something that, I was part of it on Sarah's for a short period of time. I had to go, but I couldn't get into the nitty gritty nuts and bolts. But there's some interesting takes on all of that, and I think that it's interesting that it is such a common subject right now. This and I've been hearing about the same thing over and over again for about the last yeah, people have been talking about this all year, and I think it's interesting. It's a dangerous notion when you think about it. Women will say ban no fault divorce, bring back Aqua Tofana. Yeah, they do that. They did that actually, didn't they? Just recently, that whole thing on it. Oh. Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some numbers here, so let's just roll right on. Let's talk about. First of all, let me welcome. If you have not been to the show before, yes, actually, that's true, Michelle. If you've not been to the show before, please like, subscribe, do all of the things. If you have been to the show before and you've not done those things, please do them now. It does help support the show, and for some reason, I don't seem to be hitting the same notes as I was. I don't, it seems to be that my outreach is somewhat stunted, if you will, and had several people complain that they were not notified, that I was live, that they're not getting the notifications and on other things. And all of that. So first of all, if you are subscribed and you're not getting the notifications when I go live, please unsubscribe, then resubscribe so that it resets in Google's algorithm. I understand this is and I'm not saying this is a nefarious a nefarious thing. It's simple. YouTube changes so much. There's always something going on. And sometimes you, me, whoever can just kind of, randomly default back to something, to a different setting, or maybe not update properly. And we have to go through and resubscribe to those channels. So if you like the channel and you're not getting the notifications, please make sure that you are. And hopefully you do like the channel. Hopefully I add value to your life. And hopefully over this holiday season, we have some time to reflect on what's really, truly valuable in our life and prepare ourselves for what's coming over the next couple of years with Trump as president, and what we're looking forward to with regards to the government as it normally is. Yeah. All right. And by the way, please support the show any way you can. One of those ways is you can give memberships. Memberships are you can become a member. If you become a member, there are some things that you can get. I also have some benefits for members that I'm coming out with. Actually, should have already released them, but I've been busy with other things. So please, if you can afford to, if you like the show, you like the content, you like everything that's going on, please consider becoming a member. It's less than a cup of coffee these days, and it's definitely less than a trip to McDonald's, and it helps the show. If you really like the conversation, or you want to participate, send a TTS at $20 or $10 and up. Our TTS, text to speech. I read almost all donations when you send a super chat. If you would, you can send those on Streamlabs. The link is usually below. It is not today. I will get that for you. It's I believe it is in the thing here. Let me actually let me do that now, because I will forget. I will get to talking and I will forget. I hope everyone's having a good holiday season. There's been so many people apparently that are not having a good holiday season that it seems very challenging right now. And I hope everyone is doing everything they can to have a great holiday. All right, let's go ahead. Right.
The Vengeful Truther donated 20 Canadian dollars, super chat. Merry Christmas Grid, grab yourself some lunch on me bro, he is born and risen, Christmas
appreciate
tree, Santa Claus, Latin
I
cross.
appreciate that. All right, guys. Well, the description has been updated with the with all of the links, I believe, including to Andrew at the Crucible. Definitely, if you can, please support the Crucible. Please support whatever. Thank you very much for the super chat, Vengeful Truther. I really appreciate it. As always, he says, Merry Christmas, Grid. Grab yourself some lunch on me, bro. He is born and risen. And just in case you did not hear the TTS. Yes, we're Merry Christmas, guys. It's going to be great. You know, it's a great time of the year for me, usually. I spent so many years, for all of you guys out there that that are spending Christmas alone or have spent Christmas alone. You're not the only ones. We've all gone at some point. I feel like most people have gone through it. You know, just in my specific life, I've spent many Christmases alone. I've spent many Christmases poor, and I've spent many Christmases wondering how to make the next year better. And I didn't always really find an answer to that. So I'm certainly not going to be able to do any of that for any of you guys. I hope to contribute and help you in some way, but certainly I am not a counselor, and I'm not a, you know, at the best, I'm a bad example or a poor example, a good example of bad things that can happen. How about that? So yeah, we're gonna let's jump into a couple of things. First of all, again, I've been very interested in watching all of the no fault divorce versus whatever. And the interesting thing is the no fault divorce and pornography. I think I don't understand why that pairing's being made, but it is being made. You know, I'm not up on all of it. I don't want to be. So, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. You guys do the best you can, I guess, to figure it out. For me, I don't know. Look, if we change the laws in the few states that actually have no fault divorce, this is the thing that bothers me, right? Most of the time, the people that are talking about actual no fault divorce don't live in states that have no fault divorce. Very few states actually have no fault divorce. I think it's let me look it up again, because I looked it up once because I was very curious. Because I always thought Tennessee did, but yeah, all right. So only 17 states have actual no fault divorce. The rest have some version of it, but what they're really saying is it's uncontested. If you contest it, then it's a regular divorce, and it just moves through the system. The no-fault divorce states, by the way, are Wisconsin, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Nebraska, Montana, which is odd. Missouri, also odd. Minnesota, Michigan, Kentucky, very odd. Kansas, Iowa, Indiana, Hawaii, Florida, Colorado, no surprise, and California, obviously. So it's not that big an issue to me. Uncontested allows both people to agree to dissolve the marriage and move on. If one person disagrees, right, like, hey, I didn't do anything wrong here, I think my wife's making a mistake, I'm going to contest this divorce, or more likely, yeah, I want a divorce, but this isn't, we're not just going our separate ways here. My husband had an affair. He broke our wedding vows, and there needs to be that needs to be considered in light of our children, or whatever the thing is, whatever the reason for contesting it is. Hopefully it's a real reason. It is not always. So I don't understand why we continuously circle around on this issue, except for the people who live in those states, especially California, because a lot of the most of the time, it's the people that live in California that seem to have the biggest issue with it. Now, I don't understand. I guess I just don't get it. Yeah, whatever. And that's basically all I really wanted to say on that. But it's been such a popular issue. I see everybody debating it, and I'm not really sure why. To me, it's a simple open and shut thing. Tonight, I will be debating on the Reverie. And our subject tonight is going to be something that I'm actually not that familiar with. Hey, Edge Trills, not really sure what your name is there, bud. But hey, welcome. All right, yeah. So, going to be debating on the Reverie. The debate prompt for all of you who are interested is a recent CoffeeZilla YouTube video explains the Counter-Strike Go skins economy. The video examines how rare gun skins are used as currency and what amounts to online casinos. These CSGO casinos rake in millions, but do so with little oversight and protections for their customer base. This has become a vector for young boys to enter the world of gambling since almost no age verification occurs. The results have been disastrous for some. This comes as there is an explosion of online sports betting that would provide a clean transition for these kids once they reach adulthood. Should we be concerned about this huge industry that targets young teens? What should society's response be? If you are concerned about minors getting involved with gambling, would a simple age verification gate assuage all your worries and make this acceptable? I'm conflicted on this, and we'll get into that. I'm very interested in hearing some of, I'll be live for the debate tonight as well. Yeah, and I'll have everything. I think I've got everything. I think I have everything set up. So this is an interesting debate prompt because on the one hand, so I don't gamble, but a lot. Tiki Tack, get a link, but here, let me give you a link, bro. I didn't send out any links yet. I told you I've been a little bit off today. I'm still like in vacay mode, really. So let me throw you a link here, bud. I do not know a lot about this. There you go, bro. Link has been sent. Yeah, make coffee, man. You got to have coffee. Almost done with mine. I had to teach my son how to use the espresso maker just so he can make me coffee. So there's an interesting deal here, my opinion, right? The interesting thing about this to me is I actually don't have too big a problem with gambling. I have a problem with the way that where gambling leads and why it leads there. So if we look back through history, gambling has always been around. Gambling has always been something that people did. A gentleman's wager was something that everyone did. Men gambled because everything in life at that point was seen to be a gamble. And I feel like that one of the interesting things to me is that everything we seem to do in life removes us from any sense of risk, right? Could you lose everything gambling? Absolutely. Is it wrong for me to tell you that you should not take that risk? It's really not. I don't think that I could say that. So are we going to at this point are we willing to say that young men should not be allowed to do this, or young women as well? But I'm assuming that this seems to be aimed mostly at men. So while I disagree with the stakes, I do not disagree with the action, because I think that young men need to understand the risk reward paradigm. And in our current society, insulates people as much as possible from risk. As a matter of fact, if a child were to simply fall off the steps somewhere, there's an element of risk walking down the steps. If a child falls down, we instantly try and figure out how to not have that happen again and remove the risk. That's a weird example. I'll give you that. However, it is an example of how we seek in our modern society, in our modern culture, to remove all risk. We're doing the same thing in dating. We're doing the same thing with cars. We have self-driving cars now because you can't be trusted to drive. And there's an element of risk involved. We have mandatory safety equipment in almost everything. Why? Because your employer doesn't want you to risk anything, because he runs a risk of you suing him. So we're very risk adverse in our current society. And should we be? Does it make sense to be? These are good questions. I think they're very good questions. I can't wait to have Tiki Tack get up here and talk about them. And the as the world goes on, as we tighten down more and more on what we allow people to do, I don't see the world becoming a better place. Now, I could be wrong, and I'm open to discussion and argument from the chat on why I might be wrong about that. But I honestly believe that young men should be taught about risk. I think that they should be taught about risk reward in a big way. Open to discussion. I love it. Love coffee. Hello, Mr. Bill Hicks. How are you, sir? How is everyone today? It seemed to be blowing up here. I got a lot of stuff going on all of a sudden. Nobody ever talks to me, and now they want to. All right. So while we wait for Tiki Tack to get back, because I do think this is going to be an interesting discussion. Another discussion that I want to have today is where do we see things happening after the first of the year? What do you think's gonna? So yeah, we're gonna have a good time, guys. Gonna have a good time. While we're waiting on Tiki Tack to get up, I've invited at least one other person to come up on the panel, or not panel, but up on the stage. I'm very interested to hear your guys' opinions about the amount of risk versus reward that we allow young people to take these days. I'm on the fence on this online gambling deal because, on the one hand, I can see it becoming a problem, just like anything else, just like the kids who sit and watch YouTube all day, the kids who live their entire lives in video games, and all of that. I can see it becoming a problem, but is it right for us to remove all risk of that? And if they're getting cheated, for example, it's fixed in some way, then obviously we would have, there's a reality where that needs to be fixed. We need to make things right. But if it's actual chance, I think we're okay. I don't have a problem with people risking things. I have a larger problem with people saying that you are not allowed to risk anything. So I can't wait for Tiki Tack to get up here. Maybe we'll get somebody else up here as well, and we will see. We will see. Let's see who else. I don't see anybody else floating around right now. And yeah. So how's everybody today? How are we out there in the chat? Are you guys doing good? While I'm waiting on the Tiki Tack to get up here, before I don't want to go too far, and then have to kind of double back. 5 minutes. All right, cool. Hey, the Farney. The Farney, you should come up here as well. Let me see if I got you. Have I got you over here? The Farney will be great. There you are. The Farney, I'm doing well. I sent you a link. I got a debate prompt. I'm going to debate tonight, and I want you to kind of be a part of it. Well, I'm doing kind of some debate prep here for a little while, and then I've got a couple other topics I want to cover. Might as well go ahead and kind of get, while I'm waiting on people to populate here, we'll go ahead and talk about some of the other things I wanted to cover. So, as I said, I'm buying another business. My wife and I are buying another business. It is I'm under an NDA, so I can't say a ton about the business itself, but the cost is a little over 1.5. The business cash flows really well. On paper, it's a really it's going to be a really good business. I need to give the mods the link so I don't have to do this. Where's my stupid Discord at? There it is. All right, mods, I'm putting the link in the mod chat. I don't know why I'm doing all the work today. There we go. You can jump up now, Farney, if you want, on the phone, and then jump up on cam in a minute. That's fine. However you want to do it, sir. It's totally fine. But yeah, so we're buying the business. I think we're buying the business. I mean, so there's it's not like buying a car where you go out, you shop around a little bit, you throw down a little bit of money, you get, wait for credit approval, and then you're off to the races. It's a little a little more, it's a little different than that when we're talking about buying a business, right? So it's a dance that can last months. This could be 6 months before this deal is done, and it's a lot of work in between. So like we had signed NDAs. They sent over their initial packet, which is a bunch of financial stuff. We did some back end research on what the actual market looks like. We verified the demand in the area as best we could. We did some background stuff. Hey, Chris Lestrange, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. You know what? Since today is, I'm just, how do I do this? I'm actually going to do, how do I do this? Ticky Tack is in the house. There we go.
How's it
sir? How are you?
going? Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, so
Let's talk game skins, buddy.
yeah, sure. So let's just start off on like how the general economy works from just the game side before even going into
because I want to understand how's this becoming gambling?
All right. So the thing is that the game skins, they're weapon skins. So they make your profile or your character have more flair, and it's something you could share in the game. And some of them are rare, some of them are not. The best way you could think of it, they're almost like playing cards.
I understand what a skin is. Like any other game or whatever. I understand what a skin is, but how are they? And I understand buying and selling of skins. I understand. I kind of understand that. All right. So help me out with the rest of it.
All right. How people end up, where the money actually starts is people can actually purchase like loot boxes and then be able to essentially it's a randomized generator on whether you actually get like a rare skin or not. And these loot boxes are like at $2 to $5 a piece, whichever. You also get them when you're in game for free a lot of times. So the more that you play, the more loot boxes you get, where you could open them for possibly more guns. Now, when it comes to like the entity Valve, they actually don't allow you to trade the guns in for direct money. You can spend money into it and get guns, but you can't sell a gun and get direct money, cash value out of it.
Gotcha.
It may go into your game account so you could purchase more games and more weapons, but there's no cash value. Where the problem comes in is that these third-party websites, they will give you cash value out of like buying and selling these guns or even gambling with them. And that's where we start getting into diving into the legal issues. So how they end up doing it is that they have almost kind of like an escrow service where you could take your weapon skins, put it into their escrow. That's and then you have that value on your account to start gambling with. And there's two sectors to the gambling. There's the like the fantasy sports side. So you're betting on actual live games that are going on in Counter-Strike, and it's either based off the daily fantasy sports model where there's certain scores based off of your lineup of the players, or you're just betting on the odds of which team will win.
I understand. I kind of understand sports betting.
Yeah.
Not really.
So that's well, there's that world of gambling. Now, where the real problem child comes in of like gamescape gambling is the slot machine gambling.
Yes, I
There,
read something about that, but I couldn't like picture it, how it worked.
yeah. So it's a similar setup. There's an escrow service that will hold your game skins and assign a value to it.
Mhm.
And what you do is you essentially put one of your guns entry into a slot machine, and your odds, you have a possibility of winning even like rare guns, and everybody throws it into this pool. The randomizer runs, and you either win or you lose.
Mm.
Now, the issue is that these are online services, and vast majority of them are rigged, just 100% rigged to like never win.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, and there's been a few scandals that have happened where some Twitch streamers actually started these gambling sites and started advertising them, saying that they're just sponsors. They don't actually own the business. And they essentially stole a crap load of people's weapon skins and sold them for money. Technically, this is all illegal. Like, this has been going on for about 10 years, and there's regulations to quote unquote try to stop it. But the issue is that these websites are now like running in Russia, where they don't have regulations on this stuff. And yeah, it literally is just a big like criminal industry.
That's interesting. All right. So, all right. Give me one second.
Sure.
Sorry, I had a guy texting me. Now I got to turn it off.
I do have a couple of thoughts when you're ready.
Yeah. Let me make sure I understand this. All right. So kids go in the game and they buy these game skins, and they can share them amongst each other. They can trade them like trading cards.
Yeah.
Okay. So then they put them into, what did you call it?
An escrow.
An escrow that assigns a value to it.
Yeah, it's because so the escrow service, what it is, it's essentially a dummy bot that comes into your game client and asks to do a quote trade, and you trade the gun in, and now the bot is essentially your escrow now, and that bot is ran by the gambling service. So that's how they're able to hold ownership over your gun, and be able to assign the value and allow you to start gambling with it. And if you win anything, then that bot will come in and be like, hey, here's your guns, and it will trade it back to you.
Okay. So the bot has your gun. That's like, that's just a ticket, right?
Yeah.
And it takes the ticket to my wife's calling. You guys have a conversation for a second while I talk to my wife.
Yeah. What's up, the Farney?
Hey, buddy. Nothing much. Yourself?
Doing all right. I bought a bunch of like networking equipment, so I'm gonna have like an enterprise level like Wi-Fi network running at my home, and it's gonna really piss off the neighbors.
Sounds sweet though, man. Sounds sweet. Merry Christmas to you, by the way, to Grid and to everybody watching out there.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to all.
Yeah, I my issue with like digital gambling systems that involve chance is that well, I know that there is no true random in the world, you know what I mean? However, there's like factors that are added in when you have real life gambling, right? So like even if you're rolling dice, there could be a speck of dirt on the table that would change the die. It could change based on like wind or the way you throw it. There's so many varying factors. However, when you have a program, it's faking random. And I already have a huge problem with that. So anything that doesn't involve like skill, like poker or what have you, for online gambling, like when it comes to slot machines or roulette, I have a big issue with that when it comes to money, because now it is just doing an algorithm where it's simulating randomness. So it actually is ripping you off no matter what, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is that the difference between the slot machines that you would go over to Vegas and these online slot machines you would use with your weapon skins is the regulation. So
Yeah.
over at the slot machines over in Vegas, there are set static odds that a person will
Yes,
win
I
and
don't
will
like that
lose.
either, but yeah.
But it's a yeah, I know it's generally I don't like slot machines. I advise against it. It's just
Me too.
messes with your monkey brain and you lose a lot of money to it. That plain and simple. But the online gambling scene on the slot machines, it's actually just flat out predatory because of the scandal that I even just like brought up, where a bunch of Twitch streamers they started their own slot machine site, and they rigged the odds to where essentially nobody was winning.
Yeah.
And what it is that they also had their own special development site where they can go and gamble on their own site and actually rig it to win. So it looks like that they're winning to get kids excited to hop onto the site and then just
Yep.
lose all their skins.
Well, it's like Deal Dash, right? That's a form of gambling, right? Where you can like do like bets on like auctions and stuff, and they do the commercials. It's like this guy got a PS5 for 50 cents. It's like, shut up. Like
Yeah.
you guys obviously
Right,
had like
right.
an employee or something like win that. It was like some sort of like
Well, like all the
closed
stuff
bet,
that came out about Mr. Beast, right? Where he was supposedly randomizing all that stuff, but it was like his employees and their families.
Yeah,
winning
yeah,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
So let me,
Yeah.
let me go ahead.
Yep. All I was gonna say quickly is for any of those that are believers out there, yeah, sorry, Greg, going right into the God stuff right away. There's nothing against that I understand in Scripture that's against gambling. It's the idea of like the love of money and not treating the money with like kind of respect, right? So they cast lots all the time through Scripture, and they're even encouraged by the Lord to cast lots. So that's literally like tossing the dice kind of style of thing, right? So I just wanted to say that for anybody that gets like concerned about the kind of moral aspect of gambling. So yeah.
So I've always been on the fence about gambling, right? Like I don't do it, right? But I understand a gentleman's wager, a doing things, I guess, kind of, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it, but like betting on a horse race, right? Or something like, whatever, a gentleman's wager. I understand that people have wagered throughout their lives, and it's just a matter of risk. But if the risk is not real risk because you're already going to lose, that's not risking anything, right? That's just getting bludgeoned about the head. So let me Flow State says, I used to make decent money loan sharking tweakers who got hooked on internet gambling. Okay. All right. Flow State, I sent you a link on Discord if you'd like to come up and chat. The Raging Tomato says, Merry Christmas, Grid. Thank you very much. It's going to be a great Christmas this year. And right now they use lava lamps for true randomization. Eventually we will use pictures of asteroid belts or something even great. Okay. I don't know about that. It's very interesting, I think. He's on a job. He's working. Contractor guy, I guess. So I guess where this all falls apart for me then is the fact that it's not actually gambling, it's scamming.
Yeah, that's that. And keep in mind, this is one sector. Like there is the fantasy sports sector, which is very legit because you watch the live yourself, you know how things will score out. There's no real like scamming involved with that, aside from match fixing. What you find that in regular sports as well, where a team takes the fall in order to win, and win big on betting against themselves.
But that's already breaking the rules anyways, right? So
yeah, and they get caught pretty quickly as well, because all these online personalities that are like in competing in online sports, they're also streamers. So you're always watching what they're doing, and every once in a while, their like gambling accounts
Oh,
do
you're
come
talking
up.
about gambling on esports.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I actually thought you were talking about like actual fantasy football and stuff.
It's yeah, it's they have similar overlap, but generally the people who are gambling with their game skins, they're usually gambling on live matches for that game.
There's also a big issue with like League of Legends, which is another online game. There was a big issue. I don't know how bad it is now, but people were rigging it for like who's going to win. So people would deliberately throw games and stuff so that they would get paid behind closed doors, the money, you know?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing happened with Counter-Strike. An entire team ended up just getting like banned from playing the game ever again. So and not only did they get banned from competitions, but Valve, the organization, banned their accounts from being able to play.
So I got to ask. So let's just say, all right. So the guys get the skins, they assign them to a bot, and that bot becomes their betting pool or resource or whatever.
Yeah.
And they lose a bunch of so effectively the bot then takes that, they lose, right? And so now they've lost however much. How much is a rifle skin or whatever you're talking, a game skin?
They could range anywhere from pennies to thousands of dollars.
Okay.
To give a perspective, so
Yeah, I'm trying to
when
get perspective here because on the one hand, I'm thinking, well, it's a big deal, and it's well, I mean, it is obviously a big deal. I mean, I shouldn't downplay it at all, but it is definitely a big deal. But if we're talking about kids getting scammed out of a few bucks, that's one thing. But if you're talking about, which obviously over 100,000 or 200,000 kids, that's a lot of damn money. But if you're talking like thousands upon thousands of dollars, and these kids getting scammed out of it,
yeah,
and even some adults obviously are not smart enough to not get scammed out of it, because there's a lot of adults who play these games, then it becomes a bigger problem than just than what the debate prompt is, which is this a bad thing, right? Because at this point now it doesn't matter whether I think it's good or bad, it is illegal, right?
Yeah.
They're committing an illegal act. And so at that point, then I mean, it kind of changes the entire conversation that we have to have.
Yeah.
So I'm curious where, how much do you think is changing hands here? Legitimately.
Changing hands in what aspects? Like, are you asking what
how much
side?
money is flowing from the guys who are playing the games and spending the money and buying the skins to the people who are literally just moving that money from their wallets or to their wallets, I guess I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely a multi-million-dollar business when it comes to the individual on how much money they're pushing back and forth. I think most would be like in the tens of thousands. And I think the actual like big players may hit like up into the 100,000s, the low 100,000s. So it is definitely enough income to be your primary job.
So is this something that most of the is this something that's primarily being done by Twitch streamers who get a little bit of popularity, a decent following, and then as a way to actually make money because Twitch isn't paying them enough, even as a Twitch associate, they then go in and do illegal shit like this? Is this that kind of what's happening, or?
So the thing, that's what it used to be. I think Twitch has definitely cracked down on a lot of the scamming. So if you ever do like show if you try to advertise like slot machine gambling websites on Twitch, they will ban you, but they won't ban you for advertising like fantasy sports sites, things that you get sponsorship deals. It's very nuanced, but lost my train of thought.
It's
Train of thought
okay.
a little bit.
I asked you a lot. Let me read you the debate prompt while you're organizing your thoughts. Maybe this will help. Let me go
Sure.
back. I've got to. So the debate prompt is: a recent CoffeeZilla YouTube video explains the Counter-Strike Go skins economy. I need to watch that video. I haven't watched it yet. The video examines how rare gun skins are used as currency and what amounts to amounts to online casinos. These CSGO casinos rake in millions, but do so with zero oversight and protections for their customer base. This has become a vector for young boys to enter the world of gambling, since almost no age verification exists. The results have been disastrous for some. This comes as there is an explosion of online sports betting that would provide a clean transition for these kids once they reach adulthood. Should we be concerned about this huge industry that targets young teens? What should society's response be? I misspoke there. If you are concerned about minors getting involved in gambling, would a simple age verification assuage all your worries and make this acceptable?
Okay. So the comments that I would have on that is that there are regulations. They're not as strict on the federal level, but the actual like companies that are running this, they do have a lot of strict rule sets on what you can and can't do. Technically speaking, even just like gambling your skins for like fantasy sports or slot machines is against the terms of service of these games, but they take a blind eye. They until something big happens, then they're just like, oh, it's not our liability because you're not supposed to be doing that anyway. Now, where the regulations kind of like fall flat on their face is that this is an international business.
Right.
So I believe it's the Scandinavian countries are running a lot of the servers. Russia's running a lot of the servers that handle all these like gambling things, and which they just have really light regulations when it comes to this type of online business, and you're never going to be able to stop it. The only ways I could really see it being done is put like age restrictions on these games, and if you're underage, you're not allowed to trade your like weapons or something like that. But again, a kid could just sign up for an account and say they're over 18 and get away with
their
it.
parents sign up for a lot of the times. I would assume the parents would have to sign up for the account because they're the ones with a credit card.
Yeah, for sure. So it is always tied to a parent's credit card.
So
my thoughts on
I'm
underage
interested
gambling.
in hearing your thoughts too, Farney. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to neglect you there.
Oh, it's all good. I'm just trying not to interrupt, so it has a healthy discussion here. Is that regardless if you set age limits or what have you on gambling, kids are always going to get involved in gambling, right? Like even back in our day, right? Like kids would gamble marbles, trading cards, things like this, right? So you're gambling throughout life and even non-physical things, right? Like when you go up and you ask a girl to a dance, that's a gamble, right? So I think that it's kind of healthy for kids to gamble these kind of like more frivolous type things, right? Where it's not gonna have lifelong impact. You're not gambling away your house and screwing over your family. So you can learn on a micro scale the downsides
CTS
of
coming in.
gambling.
Michelle donated $10 super chat. Set a goal.
For me. Set a goal. Okay, I will. I'll set a goal. Give me one second.
Thank you for supporting the stream, by the way.
Yeah. Well, she's one of our mods. I may actually put her in I think she is in as a managing mod. So I think I promoted her just recently.
Yeah. So like I was saying, I think it is healthy for kids to gamble. I know that it's controversial take, but like I said, like why not have them learn the downsides of gambling when they're like just gambling, like say their allowance, instead of like learning it when they're adults and then learning the hard way when they're gambling away with like credit card debt and with their house and things like this, right? When it actually matters when they fail. Those
I
are,
mean,
yeah. I always thought it was good that kids learn gambling when they're young, but a
I
horrible take, I imagine, for most. Like, probably a lot of people disagree with that.
I think I could work off it though. Here's a detail about this space that some might find interesting. So you could go your entire time playing this game and accrue money without even spending a single dime into it. Um, this is kind of how I did it. Is that I used to go into Counter-Strike competitions. I had a team. I would coach them, or I'd even play in the game. And we win these tournaments in order to get game skins. Like that was the reward for the tournament. Was everybody got like the same rifle that was worth anywhere between $100 to $1,000. So out of like 3 years of playing, I was able to accumulate about like $5,000 worth of just free weapon skins, which I then traded in order to purchase my motorcycle. So it's like it is possible, and I wasn't gambling with any of this stuff, but I could see somebody going into these tournaments, winning a weapon, and then gambling with it. It's like, well, if they win, then awesome. If they lose, technically they haven't lost anything because they got the guns for free, essentially.
So that's interesting. Glenn, welcome, sir. Glenn?
Yes, sir.
There he is. All
How you
right.
guys doing?
We're good, man. We're good. We're having a great time.
Doing great, Glenn. Yourself?
I am doing well. I can't complain. And if I did, no one would care.
Well, at
And
least it
wouldn't
was
change
listening.
anything, right?
It wouldn't change anything. No, no, I'm all right. You know, just taking care of business.
Yeah. Yeah, Glenn, for some reason when you came in, I don't know if maybe you just had just hit it wrong or something, but we can see you when you speak, but we can't see your avatar. You want to back out and come back in and see if it fixes it? He may be lagging or something. He may be asleep. He's had a long day. He's had a long day, guys. Oh, wait. He's gone. He'll be back.
He sleepwalked into the panel.
It could be. So I think it's interesting. So Farney, I'm kind of on your side on this. I think that we insulate children too much. And by that, I mean, we literally just don't allow them to make mistakes. And so they never learn. And I think it's really important for kids to actually be able to fail and take risk and understand risk versus reward and how to make that decision making. I think it's really important. But at the same time, there he is.
All right,
Welcome
you guys
back.
see me now?
Yeah, we got you
Yeah,
now.
looks good, bro.
Good.
Got you now. Flow State said to text him the link. He's not logged into Discord on his phone. So on the one hand, I agree with you, Farney, that it's okay and that you need to learn. On the other side of it, my problem is with here's my problem is that none of this matters in this instance because it's not gambling. It's a rigged scam system. Because if it's actual gambling, then I guess I don't really have that big a problem with it, as long as that they can't do it behind their parents' back very easily, and they have some idea of what risk reward is, and that they learn some stuff, right? I think that's all fine. I believe that kids have a great need to learn the hard way, so to speak. At the same time, a rigged system is a rigged system, and it automatically invalidates most of the questions that they ask in this argument, because it's not gambling, it's cheating, and it's scamming, right?
Yeah,
So-
and that's the biggest problem right now. It's because the slot machine gambling just isn't gambling when you're in an online space.
Mhm.
And I think, like, regardless if it's kids or adults, I think we're against the rules not being laid out and followed, right?
Mhm.
It's not fair if people don't understand, like, they're told it works one way, and then in the end it works a completely different way. So that's the main thing that matters when it comes to this: is it done fairly? Do people understand what the risk is?
Mhm.
If there's risk that they're unaware of, then that's not a fair system, right?
Right.
Like,
No,
if they're
that's
not even
exactly
able
it.
to be aware of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's one of the, I mean, that's where where do we draw the line? Right. So, just to, kind of bring this back to the debate prompt. I do believe that, so it says that this comes as there is an explosion of online sports betting that would provide a clean transition for these kids once they reach adulthood. It is very likely that is something that is considered when these organizations put these things in place, right? And by organizations, I mean anybody. It could be one person, it could be 10 people. It doesn't matter. But when they set up these online casinos, the consideration is that, yeah, it might be a 15 or 16-year-old kid today, but 2 years from now, that's going to be an 18-year-old adult. And that could continue for quite a while, and then we'll move them into sports betting, and then we'll we'll just continue to draw this person in, right? And then we'll sell their information to actual online sports betting, so that they can take advantage of it as well. I think that's probably a very real thing, and I would be a little concerned about that. Should we be concerned about this huge industry that targets young teens? Yeah, I think so, because it is a scam. It is a scam aimed at children who, even if they tell their parents about it, their parents are going to be like, well, you screwed up, and not consider the fact, most parents are not going to consider the fact that, hey, this is a scam.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why the
CoffeeZilla
thing was which it was so eye-opening, I think. But others have done this too, right? Like you have Hypnotic has remember. You have Hypnotic, or not? You've had Hypnotic say very similar things with regards to some other gaming communities that target children to specifically, right, under 18. When I say children. What should society's response be? Well, first of all, if they're breaking the law, right, then they go to jail. If you're scamming people by definition, you're breaking the law somewhere. So you should go to jail, right? You should be prosecuted, put out of business, your servers torn down, whatever.
Well, I think it's good to also have also understand that the mainstream industry, they don't advertise the actual like gambling sites, and a lot of times they're very much against it. But what they will advertise are the fantasy sports sites. It's like when you go to those like there's like ESL, that's a league where they stream tournaments and stuff. Yeah. So they will have like ads everywhere on going to do your like fantasy sports lineup or bet on certain games and stuff. And I think that is all fine and dandy. It's where these gambling sites, they're either like recruiting small streamers, or small streamers are running the scam themselves, and they're the problem. You know, it's like it's these small like lone wolf organizations that step in that try to take advantage of kids and their impulsivities.
That's a great point. That's a very great point. Welcome, Casino State.
Thank you.
How are you this fine? Looks like a cold morning.
It's actually pretty nice. It's about 50 degrees. Not bad for December.
Yeah.
But no, last I heard Farney was promoting teaching kids to gamble, and I'm all for that.
Well, that's not exactly what he said. But I'm sure that's what you heard.
He said, "Fuck them kids."
I'm not shocked with your name that'd be your take, bro.
I actually am not. I'm not a gambler. It's one vice that never was appealing to me because I understand math.
One out of many that didn't.
No, most vices do appeal to me.
That's right. It was one.
Right.
Appeal to you out of the many that did.
Right. Correct.
Matter of fact, all the rest apparently, all of them.
Basically.
I
heard
would
this,
like to actually
this,
expand upon that idea of when you're ready. But
yeah. Give me one second. Have you ever heard, Flow State, of Robert Heinlein's like Rules for Life? Have you ever heard that?
Sounds familiar. Jog my memory.
One of them is moderation is for monks. Take life or take something about life is meant to be lived. Take to enjoy life. Take big bites, and excess is everything. And that's you, right there. Moderation is for monks. Yeah, that's Flow State. There's no moderation with Flow State. It's full bore. Just do it all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's my spiritual belief that anything less is blasphemous because, there's a parable about the talents and shit. I can rationalize this if need to.
Hey, also, I'll be back in about 10 minutes. I got to take care of my dogs.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Tiki Tack. We'll see you back here in about 10 minutes, man.
Yep.
So it is Heinlein, Robert Heinlein. Everything in excess. To enjoy the flavor of life, take big bites. Moderation is for monks.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that necessarily.
That's you, brother. He was the original libertarian.
That makes sense too.
Yeah. He's got a lot of really good ones, like never frighten a small man, he'll kill you.
That's kind of good.
So, yeah. I like Heinlein a lot. Heinlein's like, he's the G.
What's he do? He like write books or some shit?
Starship Troopers, bro. He wrote
okay, right.
He's a science fiction.
Good movie.
He would write one politically left book and one politically right book to contrast them.
Very interesting, I guess.
DIY adds that High Grid One and Crew. I will add that monks make some great beer if you're into that. Obviously, the Powdered Dusty is into beer.
Actually, I barely drink anymore.
You really?
Yeah. Not for any real reason. Like I never had a drinking problem. I'm in my Hank Hill years. Hangovers are annoying and teenagers are loud and.
Hangovers are annoying and teenagers are loud. You should put that on a bumper sticker on your truck.
Yeah, drinking lost a lot of its fun when you're not out looking for strange pussy or new fights.
Or strange fights and
So, some of them got strange.
Sounds like Pops, man. I'm gonna just switch to my computer now, Grid. So
all right, yeah, switch to your computer. We'll see you back in a second.
I really like the idea about teaching kids how to manage things when they're young because this is what I think people in the West have like lost touch of. You raise kids so that they can be functional adults in the world. You don't try to hide them from the world.
Sure. I'll go with that.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you mind me expanding upon the teaching
Yeah,
kids
please
gambling?
do.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things, right? And when I was growing up, I ran into this a bunch of times. Perhaps you did as well. But a kid would gamble like a toy or a marble or a trading card, and then when they'd lose, the bad parent would go to the other parent and be like, "Yeah, your kid stole my kid's thing," and it's like that's a horrible way to teach a kid gambling. It should be like, well, you knew the risk, you gambled it away, so here's your consequences. It could be a healthy learning experience, right?
And that's where I'm at. I believe that. So I don't agree with gambling, but I understand that. I think in our modern world, we just really want to alleviate all risk, and so we don't teach kids to take risk, right? Whether it's buying a business, getting a better job, leaving the job they're at, not having a job, just going out and working for themselves, right? Like for decades now, we have done everything possible to insulate kids from risk. And what we've and this is my opinion, this is the real reason that we have such a pussification of modern youth.
I think it's also the reason why we have so much depression and mental disorder. Without
Absolutely.
risk, can you have any pleasure in life?
Right. No, you cannot. You really can't.
Yeah,
And-
and they're causing arrested development or Peter Pan syndrome, however you want to look at it, right? Because they're like, even when you're saying with the prompt, it's like, well, should we raise the limit? Should we make there an age limit on this stuff? All you're doing is pushing it further down in life for them to
Just
learn
kick it-
these
kick the
lessons,
can,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then another thing I wanted to mention about one of the healthy things about teaching your kids to gamble is the way I was taught, and I've never had an issue with gambling, is you got whatever money that you're going to spend on gambling, you got to pretend like, what's up, man?
Michelle, you are evil. She caught her oldest with alcohol over the weekend. So she called his straight edge girlfriend and left a message in front of him to his face.
That's
Spicy.
so catty and cunty.
That's boss, baby. That is boss.
Why? I mean, why
Wow.
wouldn't you just parent yourself instead of outsource it to friend shaming?
Well, friend shaming is a useful tool.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'd be like say you're spending $200. That $200, like for gambling, that $200 you just pretend as if you went and spent it on like dinner or golfing or whatever recreational activity, and just consider that money already lost. And then if you do win, bonus. If you lose, whatever, you were paying for the recreational activity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then the other thing I've done is whatever money I spend on gambling, I keep like a tally of like how much I'm up or down. So at the casinos, I'm still up $500 from anything I've ever taken at a casino. And I've only ever like gone for the fun of it. I enjoy playing cards and things. I don't usually play any games that don't involve skill, right?
Too bad Michelle is not up here. His face was priceless because I wanted her to go first. I learned on YouTube, not Shane, Shane's useless. That guy, he never shows up for work, is useful. And I think the girlfriend, the pussy, has more leverage than mom at this point.
All right. Well, have fun when those roosters come home or chickens come home to roost or whatever. Public shame goes both ways.
It does. It does.
Well, the way I was taught to gamble is do you guys remember Pogs?
Yeah, man, I still have some.
Yeah.
I think
my dad has all of ours. Me and my little brother got into it. My dad got into it. And when the game is to flip them, of course, a grown ass man can slam a stack harder than a 5 or a 7-year-old. And he just took all of our shit. And so probably that's why I don't like gambling now. I don't like being in the sucker seat. I understand that the house is stacked against me. I prefer to be the one, teaching sheltered kids how to play dice and then rigging it. And
You prefer loan sharking the meth heads. Let's just be honest.
Oh yeah, no, loan sharking is great.
For some reason, that reminded me of my dad. We'd play with our tops off ping pong, and he'd just see how hard he could whack it to leave a welt on with the ball. Totally not gambling related, but just he brought out the dad stories in me with that.
Dad stories. Flo, the Raging Patriot wants to remind you that you're in the get off my lawn phase of your 40s.
Yeah, I don't know if he lost connection here.
He probably lost connection. Supposedly he's on a job site or something.
Daddy issues, man. That's why he left.
Daddy issues. Glenn Lawrence, are you still there? Did you fall asleep, sir? I know you've been up a long time. He's editing something. Really not paying attention.
I'm editing some footage right now.
Yeah. It's one of the two. Either you're asleep or you're editing. How have you been, Glenn? Let's just take a minute while we'll wait for everyone to return.
Chicago's cold.
It is.
I like it.
You need sleeves there.
No, I still was sleeveless. I just had a very warm coat.
With sleeves.
With sleeves. The coat had sleeves.
The coat had
Shirts
sleeves.
did it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But I'm hopefully looking forward to it if it all works out. I mean, there's a few things that it's contingent upon, so and those are out of our hands. So we'll see. We shall see. Like YouTube needs a monetizer again. So until she gets her monetization back, it makes it a little inconsistent, or a little uncertain for me to do that big of a move.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I got it.
I mean, it'll be a great opportunity and everything, but it's really risky if she doesn't have her monetization back.
Yeah. That is true. Ticky Tack is back in the house.
So
yeah,
I did want to mention this too, right? Like, so speaking of dads, I view it as kind of like the dad's job to be pushing kids to take more risk, but protecting them from taking risk, like I said, that has lifelong complications that arise, right? So like, it's not a good idea to teach kids to take a risk and have unprotected sex because kids, STDs, all this stuff, right?
Oh, I'll draw you the perfect example.
Yeah, sure.
I would rather have my kid learn about risk reward.
I'll be right back.
On a video game, or betting on video games or whatever, than play football. Because we have high school sports right now has the highest level of life-altering injuries of any like even pro football. They don't have the same level of life-altering injuries.
Yeah, because they're not careful with how they're hitting each other and causing and not realizing about I should really take myself out, right? Like I think I might have a concussion, things like that, right? Yeah. They got the peer pressure of their friends and such, and they're like, no, I can still do it, right?
Well, I don't know what the reasons are. I'm just saying that's what is.
Mm-hmm. I'm speculating.
It's all sports, right? Soccer, basketball, football, basically everything but swimming. So
you're taking a risk with shaving your body with swimming.
And it's interesting because when I was younger, I never really played high school sports, but I understood them, and I was, I had some school spirit and all that. But now it's just terrible the way these kids are treated in high school at the high school level in again, across the board, baseball, football, soccer, all of it, basketball. And and they're life altering injuries. Like one of my friends, his son plays soccer, and we were just talking about the other day. One of his teammates was slide tackled, probably not intentionally, and it literally twisted his knee. He's going to have like 2 knee surgeries. Kid's like 14, 15. Like,
that's nuts.
It is nuts. And I'm like, everybody asked me why my son doesn't play. Well, he kind of wanted to play soccer for a while, but he just didn't get into it that much. I never encouraged him to do so, and I never pushed him to play basketball. I never pushed him to play any of the sports because
it's what
lifelong injuries, man.
That's wild to think about at 14, because you're still at that like age where you essentially bounce against things. You don't really break things. So if they're having getting shattered knees and stuff at this point, it's like, damn, is that other kid on steroids or something?
Well, I just think they just go so hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but again, Grid, that's kind of the fun. Oh, I'll be quiet for a second.
Yeah. $9.99 from Wrongful Rage for your grift, sir. Merry Christmas to you. I don't know why it doesn't trigger the TTS at $9.99. It's $10 and up, I think. So I'm sorry that it didn't trigger the TTS. But hey, I read it for you. Merry Christmas to you as well, Wrongful Rage. I'm glad to see you in the chat today.
So what I was gonna say is that I don't know, I do find it tough with the whole sports thing, because it's like, well, they should take risks with their bodies that is gonna put themselves in, and this kind of contradicting what I said earlier, but possible long-term issues. Is the fact of I remember, like, I grew up in the countryside, so kids would be doing a heck of a lot of dangerous stuff, right? Like my friend even fell out of a tree and a branch caught his gut and like ripped open his stomach when he was falling down, right? He's like holding his intestines, basically, kind of thing, right? And and like that's messed up. I hear you, but it makes tougher kids, and then they're not going to be these little snowflakes when they grow up, right? Like when I was a kid, I still got a nasty scar along here. I wanted to, just do something fun, showboating, whatever. I went down a ditch with my just bicycle, came up, and then I turned, but I slid on this gravel, sliced up my arm, and my buddy's grandma was. I'll hold up a sec here.
Yeah, thank you. A Canadian $10 comes in from the Vengeful Truther. Grid, are those Tim Hale clips coming out still, or what? I've got some of them done. I've got to redo some of them. It's just the way that the way they ended up coming out. I've got to go back and redo them. It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I think they can be a little better, and I'm not good at it, so I have to wait for someone like Glenn or somebody to help me out with it. So I'm not a clipper. I need to be, but I'm not. So I appreciate it, Vengeful Truther. We will get those out there because they are really good. They're actually really, really good. Unfortunately, I can't use them in any of my promotions because they're political. Literally every single one of them was political. Like they instantly get flagged by it when I try and use them for a promotion, which they would be so good at promotions. So I took a lot of risk when I was younger, but I never was seriously injured. I've never broken a bone. Now I've got scars, which are faded now because they're almost 50 years old. I've been to the emergency room a few times, but as far as I know, I've never broken a bone. And yes, Shifty, this is my channel, sir. But I've never, and I took a lot of risks, right? Like I was one of those guys that I did BMX stuff and a lot of freestyle. And I remember riding a wheelie downstairs and having the bike flip out from underneath me and sliding down a bunch of concrete stairs in my back, and like literally having like a bloody like mess all the way up from basically where my belt is to my neckline, and then riding home like that with the shirt getting glued to my back. Yeah, I've never broken any fingers, never broken anything. I've never broken them. Well, I may have broken a toe or two, but I didn't notice, so I just kept rolling. But it's really interesting, right? Like and I've bled a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've cut myself many times. I've had things, hit me very hard. I've never done anything like that. But I think that, and we're kind of getting a little far afield of the subject, but you're right. I think that there are some things that that we do in life that teaches kids to take risk and has instant punishment, right? I think that's really the problem that we have teaching most modern kids today, is that it's delayed. Everything is delayed. So even this gambling thing that we're talking about, they trade the gun skin off, and it might be a month before there's any ramification. And then all they've done is lose the gun skin. All right.
Yeah.
We got Wrongful Rage again, $9.99 from Wrongful Rage. And for the beers later, or whatever, it'll be whatever. I don't drink, but you're welcome to drink all you like. I do not impose upon others. I just don't drink.
Cheers, good sir.
Yeah, I just never did. Never started, never had to quit.
I don't think it is, like, I know it's a little off, but like I don't think it is fully off, because these things, like whether it's sports or climbing trees or what have you, that you're getting injured, this is a form of gambling, right? And it's a form of risk reward, right? It's fun to, like, do all this dangerous stuff, and there is risk to it because you can get seriously injured, right? So I don't think it's too far off, but I hear you on that. I think the only thing is like I said, like, just make it fair. Like,
yeah,
I don't think we should be banning it for kids. And I think we should be encouraging it, if anything, which, Grid, you and I are very different than a lot of guys on this stuff, right? It's like we don't believe in pussifying the children.
Right. But
it's supposed to be a transition stage between childhood and
Yeah.
adulthood, right? So you fool around with these things when you're a kid so that you gain these skills and knowledge and such for when you're an adult.
Well, I think it's interesting because one of the things that we have is I have a problem with people insulating kids from the reality of the world, right? And to some degree, right? And I'm not talking about but even my 4-year-old's learning that if he falls down, it's going to hurt, right? Like, that's just the way it is. And my 14-year-old, he's had a pocket knife so long, he's cut himself like 2 or 3 times, and freaks my wife out. But I'm like, hey, that's what now he knows, right? And so I would rather them learn in these more natural consequence sort of ways than basically anything else. My only problem with saying, hey, this online gambling is okay for them to learn, is because it's rigged and they're cheating. They're being cheated. And so that is a learning experience in and of itself, right? You, to some degree, you will never forget being cheated, right? Like, there's just nothing that's going to make you feel better about getting cheated. Shifty, that's cool, man. If you're 40 and still skating, I try. I keep hurting my knees. But it's just an interesting dynamic, I think. I think that I have no problem in legitimately teaching children, hey, this is what happens when you lose. Now, I would rather it be taught kind of the old school way, where they kind of follow the dad around and watch the dad make wagers and lose them and that sort of thing. I think that there's probably more value in that, because it removes the anger. It it gives the objective lesson, but it removes the anger of it until they can kind of understand it themselves. And again, I believe that I'm one of the ones that believes that that kids today are just are kept under the wing too much. There's too much of it, and I don't want to see them cheated, but I also don't want to see them told that they can't do something. And I believe that while I don't gamble, and I think that, any addiction is wrong, at the same time, I can't, you can say that. And at the same time it can also be true at the same time that knowing how to evaluate risk and, having a gentleman's wager on a sporting event, or which car is going to crash, or whatever it is, whatever a gentleman's wager is, I think there's some honor in that, even in paying it off, right? And
I completely agree.
Yeah, that's a huge lesson as well. The only pushback I'd give on watching, say, for instance, your father do healthy gambling, what have you, right, is that there's an aspect that you don't understand if it's not your possessions at risk. So to be the first party instead of third party, it does change the lesson that's going to be learned there, right?
I think both can be true, because I think that you start out as a child, right, until you're, say, 17 or 18. You're watching your dad or your mom or whoever have this successful interaction, right? They place a bet, they win or they lose, they move on. They're live, they're not betting the house, they're not doing, as long as, again, now we have to have the caveat here that we're talking about healthy gambling, right? I have an extra $20 this week, so I'm going to put it down on whatever, the rat races down in the sewer, whatever it is, But so as long as it's healthy, I think that, and this is the same kind of thing, right? Like, my son learned gun safety by watching me first, and then I'm being that example of what to do, and now he does the same thing. And now I started him very early. I started him like 4 years old, but and it's the same thing, right? Like, it's a tier system. It's not a step, right? It's not a square wave signal. This is a ramp up, and it can't be a ski jump where you're nothing and then everything. It needs to be, okay, you can have some fictionalized gambling in your online app that doesn't cost you any money, but you learn, I could lose. And then you see your dad losing money or winning money, either way. And you say, okay, losing sucks, winning is great. And then you eventually do it yourself when you're in your, and again, I think that the problem is that the way we're doing it now is all or nothing. It's pass fail. The day they turn 18, they can go to a casino and slam down money. Right.
I think these are all good points. And this will probably support your case in the sports betting allowing kids to be in this, because the majority of kids who are quote unquote gambling their skins, they're really only dealing with like dollars or pennies, tens, 20s of dollars maybe, because there's so many times where a kid will come up and like message me and be like, hey, can I have your $2 skin? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, you can have it. And guaranteed they're using it in order to like either gamble or bet on like some sports game. And I would say the only cases where things get really out of hand are those rare cases where the child gets a hold of the parent's credit card and then starts spending a buttload of money. But you could just blame the parents at that point. It's like, well, why is the parent giving the child a credit card?
Yeah. Why do they have access?
Yeah.
Well, and again, that's breaking the rules, right? Like, that's now involving stealing in order to do the activity, right?
Yes,
so we already teach kids you're not supposed to steal, right?
Well, we
so,
should be, We don't.
We should be. That's right.
We
If
don't
you're not
always-
doing that, please do that. parents.
Modern society is not actually teaching children. You think that they would be, but they are not actually teaching kids that.
You're right.
So
if you're poor enough, Grid, it's okay to steal in modern language, right? Like, yeah, that's
So-
right. If you're an oppressed group, then you're allowed to steal. So
Right. So should we be concerned about this huge industry that targets young teens? Yes, I think we should be concerned, mostly from the regulatory side. I don't care that the kids are seeing it or doing it. It's just the fact that it's crooked and they're cheating kids, and we should always be concerned when someone's getting cheated. Whatever. What should society's
100%
response
agree.
be? Well, regulation. However, not on the kids, but on the industry. And since it's international and a lot of that regulation is not going to be capable of being enforced, then we have to come up with something else. And probably what that's going to be is the blocking of specific gamer sites or whatever nodes, whatever they are, the blocking of those by the government. If they're not going to comply with some sort of regulatory code.
And a lot of that's already happening, and
Sure.
it's not even really happening on a governmental level. So Google Chrome, they have block lists. If they find a site to be predatory and put it on that list, if you try to access that site, it'll give you a big warning, be like, hey, this is possibly a scamming site. So even the private industry is working towards the betterment of making sure people make more wise decisions in their life.
Yeah. So we talked about the government level, the private level, but there's also the micro level. Like the parents need to be going in and telling their kids, hey, be careful. If it seems shady, like look into it, make sure it's legitimate,
Well, I think that honestly, I think that the market for software that helps parents better manage their children's online access is undernourished and needs to be fattened up a little bit, because most of the money I find, most of the technology that I see happening is for the kids to get around the parents, any kind of parental block or any that kind of thing. And I think that the converse ought to be true, but currently it is not true.
I thought of something wild when you talked about that. Just like that, somebody needs to invent the iPhone of routers, because every single router that comes out is very complicated on having to access, put a block list and stuff. What if it was as simple as how you use an iPhone? It's just icons that you tap on, and just immediately you're able to configure the router. It's like no headaches whatsoever.
That would, I think there's a good market for a product like that. And I say that because I have one of the parents in my son's scout troop has said repeatedly that no matter what they try, their son is able to get online.
Yeah.
And and I guess he spends a lot of time figuring out how not to do that, but or how to do that and get around their parental controls and all that. So if that's the case, then more money, more technology should be spent dedicated to keeping if it is true that we want to have some control and some guidance and quality control over what the kids are seeing. And it's also true that we cannot control these offshore sites, and we can't even control the sites in the US really from taking advantage of these children. Then the parents must have some way of blocking it, and resources need to be allocated to that. If that's right, and I think all of that is true. I don't know that anyone could say that a 14 or 15, I cannot say that my 14-year-old child, as grown up as he is, he looks like a grown ass man. He still should not be able to access gambling sites without my knowledge.
Yeah.
he is still my child. Right. So I think that both of all of that is true at the same time. And the last is which we just covered is if you were concerned about minors getting involved in gambling, would a simple age verification gate assuage all your worries, make this acceptable? Obviously not. Come on, let's just be realistic. And again, I don't have a problem with the fact that the kids are gambling. I have a problem with the lack of parental involvement. We have a problem with the amount of control and the regulation of those sites. So there you go.
Yeah, Smoking Spaceman said a good comment about like make Amish great again. So there is some beautiful truth in that, right? So well, you don't need to necessarily go the full route of getting rid of all technology, which trust me, I played around with my in my head about. There's the other thing where like parents are just giving access to their children way too early, like smartphones and such, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a family member with their kids. They're giving their daughter who just entered teenagehood a flip phone. That's all they need. They don't need a smartphone. They don't need unfettered access. And then for the internet, it's in a public setting in the house, right? Like where it's not behind closed doors. So it's like, good luck. Have fun doing stuff that anybody can walk by and see that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, right? Computers should never be in kids' rooms or stuff like that, in my opinion.
For children.
Yeah. What were you saying, Glenn?
So who's doing stuff they shouldn't be doing?
Not me. I'm innocent, man. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. With those glasses, I don't trust no man with glasses like that. Yep. The finger with the glasses thing. Never trust the guys that do the finger glasses thing.
Gives you the finger when he's adjusting his glasses.
That's right. That's right. That's always a good one. What'd you say there, Glenn? Huh? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Glenn, where do you stand on this? You've had some time to listen?
I didn't hear it, and I was taking a shit. By the way.
Thanks for letting us all know.
Well, did you just threw your hand up like I should have been listening? I had to explain why I wasn't listening. What's the topic?
All right,
my shit, or are you going to give me a topic?
Actually, this is great. This is actually great because Glenn's coming in cold. I'm going to give you the debate prompt, and I want you to break this down for me. The debate prompt is:
okay.
A recent CoffeeZilla YouTube video explains the Counter-Strike Go skins economy. The video examines how rare gun skins are used as currency in what amounts to online casinos. These CSGO casinos rake in millions, but do so with zero oversight and protections for their consumer base. This has become a vector for young boys to enter the world of gambling since almost no age verification occurs. The results have been disastrous for some. This comes as there is an explosion of online sports betting that would provide a clean transition for these kids once they reach adulthood. Should we be concerned about this huge industry that targets young teens? What should society's response be? If you are concerned about minors getting involved in gambling, would a simple age verification gate assuage all your worries and make this acceptable?
So am I supposed to care about minors gambling?
Well, I think a lot of people do, but you may not.
I really don't care if your kids gamble. They're gambling your money. So if you give them access to money, they're gambling your money. Yeah, I mean, the parents have to know where their money's going, right? Because it's not the kid's money, it's the parents' money.
I mean, my kid has his own money.
Well, okay, that's at a certain age, right? Like, so.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about like at 14. All right, so here's how this economy.
Grady,
your mic went a little
where'd you go?
there.
Wrongful Rage donated $19.99. Super chat. My dad was a big survivalist. He
Really?
taught us a lot on hikes
It's
through
super
or
chat.
in caverns
Oh,
of
we hear you there.
discretion. His
There
lessons
we
were
go.
Oh,
always
is it
about
super chat, you
preserving
think?
morals,
Yeah.
principles,
Oh, whoops.
and the beauty
Sorry
of
for
nature.
over talking the TTS there.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. That's okay. It's okay. Did I drop off or something?
Yeah, when
nobody
the
can hear you.
TTS came in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just stopped talking. I didn't actually drop off. I said TTS coming in, and you guys kept talking, so it was okay. Let me reread this. I'm gonna instead. I don't want to retrigger. Well, maybe I'll retrigger it in a second. 1999 comes in from Wrongful Rage. My dad was a big survivalist. He taught us a lot on hikes through the woods or in the caverns of this nation. His lessons were always about preserving morals, principles, and the beauty of nature. Many of the convos, or many deep convos, pardon me, fathers matter. That's true. I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you very much for the 1999. Appreciate the donation. And I'm glad we hit the TTS again. That's I always like the TTS. So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. And so where are we? So where are we at? Where was I at with Glenn? So I agree. Well, of course, I'm a parent, and I'm saying that I for in my kid's life, I don't really have a problem with the gambling, with some specific limits, right? By the way, guys, the reason that it's the guests do not always stop for the TTS is they're not watching on YouTube. They're watching through the back end software. So they can't hear what you hear, which goes straight to YouTube. I'm the only one that can hear it in the TTS because it comes through Streamlabs.
I'll still take the Algrid. I'll take it for the chat.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's just the way it is. The L is silent. That's okay. Yeah, you guys can't hear it. I think that the proper tact on the way that he's worded this debate prompt. Now, obviously, they will always this debate prompt is always corrupted by the time we actually hit the debate, but hopefully in my opening, I'll get to say that. So first of all, I don't really care about kids gambling very much. I think that there's a right and wrong way to do it, but they're your kids. So you get to decide that for yourself, whatever. I'm not every kid's dad. Whether or not they enter gambling because of the casinos and go into sports betting or whatever is irrelevant to me. I would like to have some. Obviously, you want people to be educated, but that's not always possible. So it is what it is. Results have been disastrous. Who cares? Online sports betting. Who cares? Should we be concerned about this huge industry that targets teens? I think we've come to a consensus, more or less, that yes, absolutely we should, because this specific, the CSGO casinos are rigged. They're Tiki Tack was pretty clear that most, if not all of them, are fake, set up by Twitch streamers in a lot of cases, or people who just set them up specifically to fleece, can't think of a better word, young gamers out of money, basically, and then just cheat them. So absolutely, we should be concerned about that, especially since it targets teens who may not have the sophistication or even the realization that they're being cheated. And so I do think that that's something we should be concerned about. What should society's response be? Well, I believe that there should be regulation on that sports betting um, of some kind. Whether and if all of this, as Ticky Tack has said, is a lot of it, so much of it is based offshore in the Scandinavian and Russian regions, especially, and I'm sure China as well. Um, if they're offshore in countries that have a do not have controls and it's not illegal there, then we then have to block those sites from being accessed in the U.S. Even through VPNs, and we do have the technology to do that. So um, um, it would behoove us to treat this as a serious matter. I agree with this is great timing by Damien. Um, those type of streamers, and they're not streamers necessarily, but the type of people who run those casinos are no different than fake call centers in that they target those target old people. Obviously, it's just another way to scam, except they're targeting young people who probably don't know any better and who probably have access to their parents' credit card, and their parents probably trust them because it's just a video game. How bad could it be?
Yeah, they're targeting the vulnerable in society.
Yes,
Just
yes,
the
we should
older, more
always be
vulnerable.
concerned about that.
Yeah, of 100%.
Yeah, if we are concerned about minors getting involved in gambling, would a simple age verification gate assuage all your fears, make it acceptable? Obviously not. Age is irrelevant in this context because I don't have a problem with them going out and learning about risk and reward. But I do believe that you can't learn about risk and reward if every single time you place a bet you're losing. Right? That doesn't.
If anything, that would teach them not to take risk at all, even outside of gambling, right? If everything's rigged, the government's rigged against me, the system's rigged against me, right?
Well, but today's society, the way kids think today, it might even encourage the behavior because, well, the next time it's going to be the next time I'm going to score big. The next time I'm going to score big. Yeah. And it could even encourage that behavior. So I think that I have a pretty good set of arguments for this. I and the libertarian argument obviously will be that parents have control of their kids. They have a NAP principle. So, as long as it's not aggression, but it is aggression because you are out to cheat people, and that is an aggression. So that violates the NAP principle. So I think the libertarians will be more or less on my side. Shifty. Every time you take a big hit in the market can be rough. I mean, look, it can happen to anything. I mean, I was just watching a video the other day of a guy who went massively into debt to buy a business, personal guarantee. He didn't have an SBA because it was such a big loan. Guy lost everything, like $18 million bankruptcy. And he was basically torpedoed by the former owners of the company, and he knows it, and it's well worth it to understand what that's like, right? When you take a risk, you sometimes lose. The world can be a rough place.
Yeah, so it seems like we're kind of in agreement here, since it's not a moral issue. It's not an age issue for level of maturity somehow changes the level of like immorality around it. So the main thing is just transparency. The people need to know what the risks are and the boundaries need to be fair. The rules need to be fair and needs to be clear to the people involved. I think like it's the same thing as with adults. We just need all of those things in place. And the issue is that when we're just saying, oh, let's just raise the limit. And I hate this because it borderline goes to the hardcore libertarians, or even the lack of, moral stuff, right? Because it reminds me of the argument that Playing with Fire was having with Jake the Rattlesnake. I'm saying all that wrong probably, but
Jake
with
from
it being
TV.
Yeah, exactly, with it being regulated, then we can actually have clear rules and guidelines and oversight and such. But if you suddenly want to raise the limit of gambling, which it already is, I get you, but on these specific matters to like say 18, all it's going to do is encourage kids to now go for the legal ways of doing these things, which have like no oversight. The reason why in this argument, what I'm saying is true, it works, is because there's not the immoral factor. However, with the P industry, there's an immoral factor to having it for children. So that's the big difference and the caveat I wanted to mention here. So.
Smoking Spaceman says he could elaborate more on the corruption of the video game market, but he's driving. Be safe, brother. Don't worry about it. I think we've got this pretty well hammered out for this subject, but yeah, I think it seems like I feel like we're kind of all on the same page. So.
Are you taking this to open panel late? Not on this channel, but you know how you have
the
that
Reverie.
debate.
So the Reverie. The same guys last week. Tonight it looks like it's going to be. We have Corey Campbell, the bisexual, which means gay dude. Admiral Gibbs, the really loud kind of dude. We have somebody named Doobie that I'm not familiar with.
Smoking a doobie.
Yeah. We have Fabian Liberty. Scott, he's back, as always.
I like him. Yeah.
Yeah. Lactoid's going to be back, the attorney that's kind of libertarian, but kind of not. Who knows? And then Sociologic will be back tonight as well. And of course,
awesome.
me. Yeah, so it's going to be kind of the same crowd as last week, with the exception of the Doobie guy, which I'm not familiar with him. I don't know who that is, so I'm sure he's a Twitch guy that I don't know anything about.
What time is that, Grid, so people can tune in?
Well, they start at 7 o'clock my time, which is 8 o'clock their time, but they kind of go forever, right? Like, the Reverie is basically, I mean, it's just kind of wild, right? Like, let me find what he said last night. So, it's 8 to 11:30 p.m. Eastern time, so 7 o'clock my time to like 10:30, which is a good window for me. But it's really they start off with like a random topic, which is free discussion, and then they get into the actual topic later. Ming, you know Doobie? I don't know Doobie. Give me some info, bro. Give me some info. But
Ming's got the 411 on these people.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because somebody, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. Somebody knows who you are. Welcome, K2 Keep On Trucking. Good to see you in the chat today. I'm really surprised Mr. Mister hasn't been in, but yeah.
Oh, tune in, man. It should be interesting. I like your input on those channels.
Not sure what's to gain for you from the conversation, but might be interesting. It's a debate. It's just a debate. The problem is it's not really run like a debate. It is run more like a roundtable discussion. It would be great if it was run as a debate and he actually said, yeah, you guys win. So he's a bit of a lefty. I'm not surprised. Generally, I find that the Reverie is dominated by leftists for the most part. So
I'm a very competitive person, so I always strive for the 1v1 debates.
I like 1v1 too. Oh, he did a 16-hour shift, man. I hope that guy gets some sleep. I've been asked to do some 1v1. Let me see. When did he say he wanted to start doing that? He said next Friday night. So maybe this coming Friday is what he means. Do 1v1. He asked me if I would be interested in it. And maybe we'll see. We'll see how it is. I generically, I don't really kind of generically, I'm not, I like some debates. We'll see how it goes, right? Like I don't know. It's very interesting. So guys, as we enter the last hour of great discussion around the debate subject. I'm glad I feel like I've got a winning line on that. I think you guys helped out a lot. Really appreciate it. Is there anything else anybody has in the news or anything lately? Otherwise, we can talk about business stuff. I mean, obviously, you guys saw the thing that came out of Sacramento this weekend, where it's criminal how stupid people can be, right? Like, so this woman and her husband were fighting. Her mom was there for some reason, and then they left a 1-year-old child alone with this guy that they were fighting with, the husband that the wife was fighting with. He beheaded his own 1-year-old son.
And he wasn't on bath salts?
Apparently not. But what kind of idiot do you have to be to be in an argument with somebody to the point that you're willing to leave, and you leave a 1-year-old there? Seriously? And it's all, this story happens enough that like, I'm always shocked, right? Like sometimes it's, it's been a few times it's been the female and not the male, but this time it's the male.
Yeah, somehow we evolved to have morals.
Well, somehow we think we're evolved. That's a great discussion that we can have. Yeah, I've seen all about the New York thing. The New York thing's interesting, but it's not that interesting. That's just a crazy guy. It's just a nut. It's just somebody who's nuts.
Yeah, I just kind of threw that out there because, like, there's always
chat too.
Yeah, there's always that argument from like atheists where they're just like, oh, we evolved to have like morals in society and work together and stuff. Yeah, it's like we've had millions and millions of years to flesh out like these problems, yet we're still doing crazy things like unaliving our children.
I mean,
I would say you asked a question.
Are we better now?
Yeah, I would say yeah.
I think we're worse.
I would highly disagree. I think we just are expressing our evil things in different ways. That's all.
So
I mean, I was thinking about this morning, like, because so this time of year, it's tough for a lot of people, right? So you get the holidays, and for whatever stupid ass reason, we have a holiday like every few weeks. Once Halloween hits, it's like every 4 weeks. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me read this. Wrongful rage comes in again. A guy in Arizona lit his child in a car seat years back, and the mother was involved. It has always baffled me how evil people can be. Oh, yeah. Right. And we're supposedly better people now. $5 comes in from Ghost 1978. Should it be legal for people who don't believe in Jesus to celebrate Christmas? I started trouble in Meyer's line this morning. Of course you did. Why would you not do that? Thanks to both of you guys for contributing to the stream. I really appreciate that. Enhance the grift any way that you can. I appreciate it very much.
Well, them celebrating Christmas, isn't that cultural appropriation?
Yeah.
Right? If you're not a believer?
I mean, it's an interesting so first of all, I like the idea of Christmas. I like the idea of it, that everyone gets together and has a family time. And I prefer when, and I've read about this, and all of the old, and books that actually talk about the way it really was in the olden days. And usually these books are 30 or 40 years old. Actually older than that, but where Christmas didn't exist in the way that it exists now. And we seem to have this so one of the things that modernity does is it takes all of this stuff from today, Christmas, for example, and we superimpose it on history. I'm fairly certain
Well, hello.
TTS.
Mr. Boulay and the Department of Numismatics donated $50, Super Chat. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Brother Grid, our panelists and the chat. May we all have a joyous and safe holiday season. Try tactical soap today. Link in the chat.
You were one word too long, Mr. Boulay. One word too long. Thank you, sir, very much.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Boulay.
Merry Christmas, Mr.
Very Merry
Boulay.
Christmas. Thank you for the 50, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. K2, keep on trucking comes. Why is it not triggering at $10? It should be triggering at $10. Maybe it is. It's 20. It should not be. Oh, there it is.
K squared keep on trucking donated $10, Super Chat. Can we give a shout out to all the people that make Christmas happen so others can enjoy? Because there's two people in this world, people that make Christmas happen and others that enjoy Christmas.
Yeah, I think we should always give shout outs to all of the people who make Christmas happen.
Merry Christmas, K2, and everyone else out in the chat.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. This will be the last show before Christmas, except for the debate tonight, because I will not do a show Wednesday night. It's interesting how we superimpose the idea of Christmas onto history, right? Like, it just is. And I don't know, man. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, because it seems that every year it gets a little more, and maybe it's just me being older. It gets a little more commercial. It gets a little more, we now have people putting up Christmas decorations after Halloween. It's a horrible time of the year for a lot of people, because you have Halloween. We have Memorial Day. It starts at Memorial Day. Memorial Day, 4 weeks later, you have Halloween. 4 weeks later, you have Thanksgiving. 4 weeks later, you have Christmas. 2 weeks later, you have New Year's.
You mean Labor Day, right?
Labor Day. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Morris. I don't know why I said Memorial Day. Labor Day. You have, and you just have this never-ending stream of holidays.
Well, I think it's also feeling more like fake and tacky, because these holidays were like excuses to get the family together, and modernity is against that idea of like the nuclear family. Or I wouldn't say against, but it's just like it's not part of their prerogative. So all these like advertisements that come out, all of these like show hosts that are talking about Christmas and stuff, they're not mentioning families anymore. They're not mentioning values. It's all just commercialized.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you won't hear much about a Christmas story and anything like that. It's all about the gifts. It's all about the your kids are gonna love it. Your wife's gonna love it. Your husband's gonna love it. Whatever, make this person's day better, right? Well, you can do that any day of the year. You don't need to do that on Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas has always been to me to be, about family, about, kind of taking it down a few notches, being a little bit more, a little bit less selfish. And now it's all about being selfish. It's all about being contaminated, to be honest. I mean, it's just really messed up. We got K2. Maybe it's because we still worship the pagan tree god. The Christmas commercials now wait until exactly after Michael Myers' Halloween special is over. That's true, man. It's terrible.
Yeah,
and it's less and less religious, which, hey, look, not everybody needs to be religious. Not everybody needs to be religious in the same way. But why are we not seeing some of the, if we want to have Christmas as a tradition and treat it like a tradition, then the Christian God is part of that tradition.
Yeah. I like the original one that you're talking about, where it's about focusing on Christ and him coming into the world and all that, all the wonderful things like being thankful and gathering around and refocusing our attention on the right things. But yeah, it's become just about lies, magic, hedonism, materialism. You know what I mean? It's a disgusting thing. I personally don't like the fact that we lie to our children about a magical fat man that flies around the world. I hate it. Because what it's doing, if you listen to the ways that they describe Santa, it's basically a prosperity god, where it's like he knows when you are sleeping, he knows when you are awake.
It's totally pagan.
It's taking the beautiful, like some of the beautiful aspects of God and putting on this fake fat man. And then what they're doing is they're taking that natural proclivity to believe in the metaphysical, in the divine, the spiritual, and they're putting it on something they know is fake. And then what happens is when the kids grow out of that, now when they hear about the actual real God, now they're like, how is this just not another Santa? Everything sounds very similar to him. And so what they're doing is they're destroying that beautiful natural proclivity to believe in the unseen, right?
Yeah.
And making it into this horrible like shadow of what's actually glorious.
I think it's really pretty accurate. There's this, St. Nicholas was an actual person, and they have bastardized him, and we've created this. We've really created this narrative that I don't know, man. I think it's very interesting. I don't like it. Look, I think the mythological characters are fine for kids, as long as at some point while they're still kids, they understand, hey, this is all made up. It's, Santa Claus isn't real. The Easter Bunny's not real. It's the Ichabod Crane is not real. So just roll with it, right? Like these are just trappings of the holiday. But so for many years I was pretty apathetic to all holidays. I just didn't care. Like I worked so much that it was just a holiday was whenever I was, and I used to say that Christmas was any day in December I happened to be home, because I usually wasn't home. I was traveling. I was somewhere. I was working. So I may not be home on Christmas Day. It may be 4 days later. It may be January 2nd before I actually had Christmas. But it was because I was with my family, and that was the important thing. Regardless of whether you're a Christian or not, I don't want, because again, I generically do not try very hard to not argue points from a religious perspective, if I can help it at all. That's just, I just find it better, right?
I think I could expand on a secular argument on this.
Go right ahead. I'm
Yeah,
gonna hang him down 1 second, guys. Keep going.
Yeah, this is almost like a clear example of cultural appropriation, exactly like what the leftists are fighting against. Because when you think about Christmas and you think about the United States being founded off Christianity, well, not directly, but indirectly, we were a Christian nation. To try to eliminate all those elements is essentially like abandoning our culture. So for the corporate America to come in and marketize Christmas is literally cultural appropriation down to the definition.
And it's evil because now it's a little less now, but there was this big push post 2000s where it's like you're not even allowed to say Merry Christmas. You had to say Happy Holidays or Xmas, right? They literally removed Christ from the word.
Happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Yeah, exactly. I could do a secular argument as well. I you know me, I can't help but bring the God and theological stuff into my arguments. But if I wanted to go from just a pure like secular framework, it's obviously not good to celebrate Christmas in the secular way because you're teaching your kids to be entitled. You're teaching your kids that the only reason that you should be acting good is because you'll get rewarded for it, not just for the sake of being good. You're teaching your kids that it's good to lie to kids just for your own personal amusement. It's good to also just have your name on gifts for other people so that you get recognition for the gifts that you're giving to other people, right? Instead of anonymous gifts, right? So so then it's now going into those who have more get more love, quote unquote, from the people receiving the gift than those that have less. Like I'd be far more for it if the trees put under the presents put under the tree had no name attached to it except for the receiver, right? And then it's like, who cares who it's from? Be grateful that somebody that cares about you gave you the gift, right? Why do they need recognition if it's all about just giving because you care about the person? It's about the fact of, no, I receive the glory for giving you the toy that you wanted for Christmas, for example. So it turned into pinning aunts and uncles and parents and friends all against each other in the kids' eyes because it's like, oh, that's the uncle that actually got me what I want for Christmas. And then the uncle that's poorer or the aunt or what have you, they feel inadequate all because they don't have funds. Like, this is disgusting to me. I hate a lot about Christmas, which I know, just paint me green, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting, right? I mean, there's a I guess this is just kind of my outlook, right? I just look, the tree's fine. The Legend of Santa Claus is fine up to a certain age. All of that's fine. My problem comes in when it just becomes such a production, or my problem has become that it's become such a production that it's people don't even never go to church. This one day a year, they celebrate this holiday, right? And you're right. They eliminated Merry Christmas, but they don't even say Christmas. It's Happy Holidays. It's enjoy the season's greetings, that sort of thing, right? Yeah, I don't really like that. I don't know. It's very I don't know. This is just one of those times, as I've gotten a little older and a little bit more into, because I have kids now and I see what, kind of what they go through now. With my first son, my wife and I really didn't make Christmas a big deal. Like he would get a gift or two gifts or three gifts. They were nice, he'd get a bicycle or he would get, something that he really wanted, but it wasn't like he didn't get like a big stack of gifts, right? There wasn't mass amounts of stuff under the tree because it was why? At that point, it becomes meaningless, right? And this is where and there's just so many. It is a Wiccan pagan tradition, 1%er. I agree with you. And I didn't really mean to kind of go down this specific avenue, but it just seems like at a grassroots level, most of us should be looking at Christmas through a different lens, and we should be treating it in a more serious way. Not just, and all holidays, to be honest with you, because I don't even take most holidays because I think they're garbage, right? $5 comes in from K2 Keep On Trucking. Special shout out, not shout out, but shout out to the Teamsters in the brown package cars and trucks that are delivering presents. Everyone, Merry Christmas. That's right. You know, I've noticed a massive drop in the speed of my mail service. So those poor guys are doing yeoman's work this Christmas. That's for sure. All the money we spend on the presents and toys really would be better if you could go on vacation and the memories would last longer. Jess, I'm not sure that I agree with that. I'm also not a particularly big go on vacation guy. I think the time's better spent at home, just hanging out, just getting to know each other, fixing your house, cleaning it up, making it a better place. I think that we look outward so much that we never take a look at what we actually have. I've actually found myself doing this. The range case. What range case? What's he talking about? But when we look at the way this these holidays, and I'll include most of the holidays from Labor Day on. They're all about getting away instead of focusing inward. And I would rather focus inward, I think. I think it's more important.
Yeah, so some of the things I like that happen on the holiday, a lot less for some of it nowadays, is what happened to Christmas carolers, right? Going door to door and singing Christmas carols. That's kind of beautiful. Yeah, it's super rare. Like I've never once in my life had them come by my house. And then there's the idea of like,
we're in Canada. Do you even have snow?
It's too cold here, man. We have they all stay at home, right, by the fire.
Well, fair. Yeah. That's fair. Okay.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And Glenn doesn't have carolers in sunny Los Angeles because of the drive-bys.
Oh gosh, yeah, the kind of gift you don't want given there. And then I always thought like soup kitchens are wonderful, like the idea of like, hey, this time of year where we should be giving to the poor and stuff like that and looking after the poor. I think that's wonderful. So yeah, there are good stuff that is around the Christmas season, but I like me personally, I wish it was less about Santa and his reindeer and his little short people that he has enslaved, and more about like Christ and being like good to others. Like the song that Good King Wenceslas, you know, it's a wonderful song, right? Because it's like about following in the footsteps of Jesus as he's walking through the deep snow, about struggling when you're poor and all that. Like those kinds of songs, they warm the heart, but like, I don't know. Who cares about a snowman that becomes magical because of some pagan crap that's going on? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So Glenn sent me something. We're gonna play this. Give me 1 second, guys, to make sure that we get it all set. And there we go. And
all I want for Christmas is anyone but you. The snow is falling, the lights are bright, but something's missing this Christmas night. The fire's warm, but my heart feels cold, 'cause I'm stuck with memories I don't wanna hold. I see the mistletoe, it's haunting me. Every carol's like a bittersweet melody. But this year, I'm gonna change the tune, erase the past and make the magic bloom. All I want for Christmas is anyone but you. A brand new vibe, a dream come true. Some brunettes in red with a playful view to deck my halls and paint them new. All I want for Christmas is anyone but you.
All right. Well, that's
Son, do you know?
oh, I like that. That's cool. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Why is it? Oh, I gotta scroll all the way up. Sorry. There we go. There. Now we're back.
Good work, Glenn.
Good
Yeah,
work,
yeah, man.
Glenn.
I always think, like, dude, sometimes you look like the Punisher, man. I don't know. It trips me out, man.
I do have the Punisher tattoo in the middle of my chest.
Nice. That's sweet, man.
Obviously. Why would he not? Look, I just think that Christmas as we know it has good points, it has bad points, but the bad points are starting to outweigh, and we need to do something about that. We really need to fix some stuff. And by we, I mean non-degenerate people, preferably God-fearing, just normal people, if such a thing exists.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear. Like, I'm not against stuff like, having like a Christmas tree and decorating it. I'm not thinking that's some sort of weird like pagan crap. Like, I know there's a lot of Puritans that are against weird stuff like that. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, usually, like, what I always liked about Christmas ornaments and stuff is you'd have them as like homemade or a gift from a relative, and then it's like, oh, remember when you got this year? And then if you have members of your family that passed away, you have like a special like memory with that, where it's like, hey, let's hang so and so who passed away's ornament right here where everyone can see it, things like that. So I'm not against any of that. It's the indulgence that I'm not for. I don't like all this materialism crap. Just to be clear.
Well, good. Glad you're being very clear.
You're welcome.
It's an interesting thing, and I'm gonna move topics here back to because the daytime stream is we generally talk about business, politics, that kind of thing, and I kind of do want to talk about a little bit more about how I'm going about buying this business that I'm getting into, and some of the things that you may not. A lot of people think that they cannot buy a business, and the reality is, I find that for the most part, if you really want to buy a business, you can. It may not be. You got to be kind of realistic about it. You've got to think about what you're getting into and how much money you want to spend, and there's like a lot of different layers to it. And this is actually one of the reasons why I started off really with talking about I wanted to talk about the debate prompt, because it's all about this risk and reward. So I kind of set out the other day, and I was a little bit rambling in it, but I think that generically you start out life, you get an education of some kind, you build a skill set, whatever that skill set is, whether it's trades, whether it's business, whether you're just you're like a professional asshole. I don't know, whatever it is that you do that. And then you earn money and you build a life. And sometimes it can take some time to do that. But somewhere in that period of time, and I'm going to use an example of one of the guys that we're dealing with right now. I'm not going to use me. I'm going to use this guy. This guy worked for, he went to college, an engineering degree, went to work for a telecom company back a few years ago. maybe it was the COVID shutdown. I don't think it was. I think it was it couldn't have been. At some point there was a shutdown, and the company he was working for took the took advantage, or it wasn't a shutdown. It was a change of technology, and they September 11th happened is what happened. So they took advantage of that pause to downsize and shift gears for the next evolution. And he was part of that downsizing. So he went and bought the company, right? He looked around and said, well, I don't want to go back to work. I want to have some security. I want to be in control of my destiny. So he bought this company. And then he proceeded over the next 20 years, roughly, to build it into what it is today. And we're probably going to buy it. And where it is today is it makes good money. It's profitable, multiple employees, vehicles that are paid for. He's done a very good job of doing the company, and it's a service that people need, right? That is not something that's going to be easily lost. And there were other businesses that we looked at buying, and we looked at buying a trucking company. Didn't really make sense. And at some point, you have to decide what you want to do. And let me read the super chat, and we'll branch off into that direction. $5 comes in from the Raging Patriot, 1776. Let's celebrate the holiday tradition, Krampus. The Germans keep the holiday dark and sinister. LOL. Merry Krampus, everyone. Laugh out loud again. Yeah, it's actually worth the $5. Thank you very much, Raging Patriot. I really appreciate it. That's actually great. A new TTS coming in from Mr. Boulay.
Mr. Boulay and the Department of Numismatics donated $10. Super chat. Professional at dollar hole. Grid oneism. Noted.
Right. I've been accused of being a professional asshole. Thank you very much for the $10, Mr. Boulay. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Means a lot, actually. Really appreciate your generosity today. So when you are, when we're looking at, I'm going to put that up just so everybody can read it. So when you're looking at business, you may not start at where we are, because I've already owned a few businesses. You might do something like I bought a shop in California a few years ago. Their financials were not very good. Matter of fact, they were pretty fucking terrible. But what they did have, even though they didn't have solid financials, is they had a good lease. They had a good lease. They had good equipment. They had good bones. You understand what I'm saying? It was a business that we could buy cheaply and build. I don't know why I did that. That's weird. There we go. And so it was a business that we could buy relatively cheaply and build. That's what we did. I think we bought them out of their lease and paid them like $10,000 for the business, right? And it was a very cheap business to buy, and we ended up turning it into a pretty good solid earner. Right now, there are businesses out there for anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000, $600,000 that will make you a couple of $100,000 a year if you run them right. There's a lot of risk. You need to understand how to do that. We'll talk about that going forward. But at some point, for most people, a retirement business is going to be the right choice. A lot of people think they can get into a retirement business and do it all remotely. And that's usually wrong. You can't. You have to be there, right? Let's see. Well, Shifty says every business he has seen sold in the last 10 years was falling off badly. There's some of that. Broke it off in new owners, I'm sure. Didn't make sure they kept up contracts during transfer. See, there's a lot of things into going and buying a business, right? Like, and we'll talk about this over the next week or two through the holidays and after it. Yeah, so I would actually right now I would buy businesses over land, and there's a reason for that. We'll do a show on that. I'm not going to get it because that's a lot to get into this late in the show. Land right now, unless you're doing very specific things, land it's not a good time to buy property right now. It's going to be really good really soon, but just got to wait just a little bit.
Yeah. It sounds like what you're talking about, like a lot of people when they go in and buy a business, they want like a turnkey operation, right? Where they go in.
Want to do it. Yeah, you always want a turnkey operation.
Yeah.
You always want. So what you really want is you want where someone's retiring and they love this business and they have cared for it. They've built it. They've got employees that have been there 20 years. They have management in place. They have contracts. They have a reputation. The most important thing that you need to look for is the reputation. Are they getting the good jobs? Or is this guy bailing because he's done a shitty job of hiring? His employees have fucked off. Now he's got a bad reputation. And let's just take an example, right? Like I'm going to probably in the next year, I'm going to at some point in the next probably 2 years, I'm going to buy an HVAC business because I don't care what anybody says, you are going to pay to have your HVAC fixed, right? You just are. You're not going to sit there and cry about how much it cost to get the air conditioning fixed. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just not. It's not what happens. And
this might be another business idea to look into.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with mixed fertilizer manufacturing?
No, but I can look into it.
Basically, they're just big. They provide the nutrients to agriculture, and it's custom ordered. Yeah,
it's like a kind of a niche market, but it's growing. And I actually read something about that the other day.
Yeah, basically, it's a big warehouse that has a bunch of different nutrients, and then they just mix them together per order, and then send them out to the agriculture farms.
That sounds pretty good, man. Usually they only replace like the nitrogen, phosphorus, I think it is, and potassium. Yeah. And then they miss out on like the other 11 nutrients.
Yeah, you need nitrates. But HVAC is one of those things that I will buy an HVAC business in the next couple of years. And I'll just integrate. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at one right now to enter. The business that I'm going to buy, I'm going to buy it. And then I may buy an HVAC business at the same time to add to it just to kind of generate another revenue stream. But when you're going to buy if you're actually going to buy a business, especially a retirement business, and you don't want to fail, you have to buy a business that you kind of at least understand, right? Like you don't have to know everything about it. You don't have to understand how to get it done. You don't have to be able to do the work, but you kind of have to understand how it works, right? And by that, I mean, who sells what, who buys what, how do you get paid? Right? Like those things, you need to understand that right out of the gate.
And last bit, how to detect bullshit.
Well, you're going to learn that, but a lot of people screw up because let's just say, for example, the business that I'm buying right now, it has about a 60-day float. And what I mean is that I pay my payroll and other cash flow regardless. If I do a job today, I turn in the bill to the contractor, and they turn it into their billing, and their billing then charges their customer. Their customer has X number of days to pay. I give, the contractor has X number of days built into the contract with me. So it could be 60 days from the date of issuing that invoice that I get paid. I could get paid sooner, but it's still that's a 60-day float. In the meantime, I'm still paying people, buying material, buying gasoline, buying, all the stuff. So, and let's just round number at 200 grand. So at all times in my cash, in my petty cash, I have to have $200,000 as operating capital. If I don't, then I can't operate because I can't pay my employees. I can't put fuel into trucks. I can't buy materials. I can't pay other contractors. I can't do anything because I run out of cash. And this is what happens to a lot of people who buy businesses. They buy a business and it looks okay. It makes $2 million a year and it cash flows 600 grand, and all the numbers are great, but they're not looking into the float. They're not looking into how much capital is maintained post sale, right? So, like for example, one of the things that we're doing is we're making sure that operating capital is included at close. When we close on this business, there has to be X amount of operating capital or we won't close, which means that in the bank account that we take over, when we walk in and take over and we sign all the paperwork, there has to be X amount of money sitting in that account for us to operate on, because otherwise we won't buy the business. If you don't know that, if you don't know how to negotiate that up front, and you walk in day one and the bank account's empty and you have to take cash out of your pocket to fill it, and you don't have that cash, you're hurting because you got to go borrow the money. You got to get a line of credit. You got a lot of complex moving parts. And this is how people buy a business that is successful and they lose. Right? So number one, you have to understand how everything's going to get paid. Right? And you need to visit the business, and you can't buy things cold, and you can't assume just because somebody's built a great business that you're going to walk in and make it happen. So you want to make sure that that person is going to be there. In my case, what I'm trying to negotiate right now, because I know the guy wants to retire, and he's even drawing back out of the business now, but I get the idea he still kind of wants to be around. So what we're going to suggest is, rather than walk in Monday morning and say, guys, I've sold the business and here's a new owner, and everybody being very concerned about whether their paychecks are going to change or not, what we're going to suggest is, since he's already offered to stay on for up to a year, we're going to suggest that all we do is we complete the sale, we change the names on the account, we change the name of the business slightly, we do all of that. Well, actually, all they'll notice on their check is just that it's a different signature on the check. And hopefully we can go a month or two without them even knowing the business has been sold. So that when we finally do say, oh yeah, we bought the business 2 months ago, and they haven't noticed a change, we don't have employees jumping ship. We don't have people feeling like they're not going to get paid. So there's a lot of moving parts. And we're going to talk about this over the next probably month or month and a half, 2 months, because I think it's really important. I think that most people don't know how to buy a business. Most people want to be in business for themselves. A lot of people do. And a lot of people just do it wrong. Right?
Well,
go ahead.
You want to go first, Tic Tac?
Yeah, sure. I think in some instances it's actually a good idea to sign an agreement where the original owner is still around for a bit, and it depends on the business. The example that I would bring up is one of my friends. He owned a electric golf cart repair shop, and he sold the business, but he's still working there for about 2 years because since it's such a specialized and niche market, he needs to be able to transfer his knowledge to either the new employees coming in, the new owner that's coming in, and just make sure that transition works correctly.
Yeah, and it's so that's great. And that is, you should look for that when you're looking at at prospectus, one of the things you want to look at is owner involvement, right? Post sale. So if they say no, we're selling and we're gone, we're out, we're moving on to other projects or whatever. If that's the case, you need to look long and hard at the management in place for that business. Now, sometimes that's okay. If you've got a president or manager or manager group that basically runs it every day anyway, it's going to be fine. What you don't want is basically the employees show up Monday morning, the owner that they've been working with for 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, says, "Hey guys, I'm retiring. Here's a new owner. See ya."
Mm-hmm.
Because the first thing those guys are going to think about is, am I going to get paid this week?
Are there going to be cuts?
Yeah. Am I going to get fired? Are we, can these people operate the business? And so what you don't want that in a trade. Now I'm talking specifically in trades. I think in like computers, like if you were doing IT, if you were buying a fintech company or something like that, they don't care. They get bought and sold so often they don't care. As long as the check clears, they're good. I'm talking specifically about tradesmen that have probably in their past they've had a company go bust on them, where they went to the bank Friday and their check was no good. Right? We're not talking about white collar guys. We're talking about these are blue collar businesses that I'm buying. And so K2, I'll get to that in just 1 second. But when you just because these guys have, there's other companies around that do what you do. I don't care what business that you get into. You cannot assume that the guys that work for you today are going to work for you tomorrow if they have any inkling that that their job is in jeopardy. They will jump ship. They will go somewhere else. And so you've got whatever you do to make a smooth transition, you need to do that. Whether it's a speech by the owner, whether it's hey, I'm going to be around for the next 6 months. One of the things that in every business that I look at, are they willing to spend a year to 2 years, and most are, making sure that the company succeeds. And that means if they need to come in, 3 days a week for 2 years, they're willing to do that. Now, not every, again, that's something you need to decide before even sitting down to the table, right? And most of the time, hang on. All right. So, let me see if I can find one. Crap, I can't. Let me. I'm in the. Oh, here it is. I like this one. All right, so let me put this up here. So we'll just share my screen really quick. Let me go. Oh, wrong button. There we go. And let's see. There we go. Share the screen. All right. So this is a pretty good company to look at, right? So they don't even tell you much. They don't tell you much about this company, okay? But they don't tell you the asking price, so we can only guess. They do tell you that their EBITDA, that's earnings before interest, taxes, crap, I forget what the
debt
DA is, but debt and something else. But their EBITDA is $2.2 million. Fixtures, furniture, and electronics is about 500 grand. Inventory, they have $175,000 in inventory, but it's not included in the asking price. They manufacture custom architecture, millwork, custom furniture, blah, 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 wood, plastics, all of that. They have 30 employees. They have a bunch of machinery. Their facility is massive. I think that they said it's something like it's a massive building. I think it was something like 3,600 square, or not 30, like 6,000 square feet or something like that. I forget what it was, but company sells and performs across the entire USA, which is compelling differentiator. Company has developed a reputation as go-to subcontractor skill, blah, blah, blah. Support and training. Business seller will work with buyers to successfully transition. Their reason for selling is heading towards retirement. Those are the things that you need to, whoops, why did that happen? That was weird. That's what you need to know. You need to see that they're willing to help you succeed. If they're not willing to help you succeed, well, that's a problem. And there's a lot of stuff there, but I'm gonna guess usually asking is 4 times EBITDA. So they're going to want about $8 million for this business, which that you would need. You couldn't do that on an SBA. You would need to do a bunch of stuff to make that happen. They have, like I said, 30 employees, and yeah, that's a pretty good business if you can swing it. Let's see, where's another one? Dang it, man. My computer is going nuts. Let's see. I like that business a lot, though. That would be a good one. Let's see.
Well, you're looking that up. I'll tell you the acronym. I had to look it up. But earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Too bad I didn't have any examples. Next time I'll have examples ready to go. But you always want to see, or I always look for that people are going to, be there, right? Like there's that the existing owners are really going to help you be that they want it to succeed. And that's one of the reasons why I buy mature businesses. But you can always buy, like, there's an auto shop, I think, for sale for like 400 grand. That would qualify for an SBA. Well, again, I don't know because you're in Canada, but to answer your question, K2, keep on trucking. So you can buy, there's a small business for sale. I don't know where, I don't have it saved or anything. I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting to do complete a lesson here. And I really don't have. I'm really gonna have to call it here in a minute. But let's say you do you buy a business. It's 200 grand. That'll qualify for the most part. If their earnings look good and they've been in business long enough, you will you can get an SBA loan. SBA loan requires that the seller put up 10% as seller financing and you put up 10% down. So if it's a $500,000 business, the seller is going to put up a $50,000 loan and you're going to put up a $50,000 loan. $50,000 less than the price of a new car. So you would have to save. You would, may have to probably pull some out of a 401k or something like, which is what most people do. And you go down and you if it's a good business and it takes about 6 months to do all of the due diligence and stuff. Now, buying a $500,000 business is probably going to cost you 10 to 20 grand above the down payment because you're going to want to do some things. You're going to want to do like a Q of E, which is quality of earnings, which means that you're going to pay somebody to go through the books and verify that the billing is accurate and that the earnings are real and not kind of fibbed, right? So you need to do a quality of earnings, and also that the books are tight. You don't want to buy something that's floating, some hidden debt somewhere, or they just happen to have a good year, so they're going to sell it this year. So you want to go back about 5 years usually. And if they're not open to that, you got to walk away from the business. If the business has only existed for 3 years, you got to go back to day one and make sure and confirm, because you can lose a lot of money doing this stuff. And we're not gambling, right? This is where we're not gambling. We are taking information and we are doing something that to make us money, right? This is how we're going to make money. This is not someone writing me a check every month. This is me writing me a check every month and me providing a living. The business that I buy, for example, the business that I'm going to buy currently has 16 employees. We're going to up that within the next probably 3 to 6 months. We'll probably up that after purchase. We'll probably up that to 20 to 25 people. We're paying those guys, the top guys are making $60,000, $70,000 a year. Those people depend on me and this business for their livelihood. Right. And so you got to take that a little bit seriously. It's, and also, there you go. There's that. What about
Mr. Boulay and the Department of Numismatics donated $10 super chat. Successfully transition. Comedy grid.
$10 comes in from Mr. Boulay. Didn't it? Oh wait, it's going to trigger the TTS. Maybe. Why is it not triggering TTS?
It seemed to. It messed with your voice for a bit there.
Right.
Furby can tell us all about successfully transition.
Oh wait, did I mute myself? I did.
So, what is the point when it's a success?
I don't know when it's a point.
Self-determined.
Did I have was I muted? Did I have?
When you identify as it being successful? Yeah. So, Grid. It sounds like what you're talking about is like where the original owner doesn't want to even sell it because it's their baby, right? Where it's like they have a legit reason to leave the business, but they want to make sure that
they won't go through the deal. They won't go through the deal. And this has happened a couple of times where we've been in the middle of buying a business. This was years ago. We've been in the middle of buying it, and I'll re-trigger that in just a minute. And the owner just doesn't want to let go. And I've not happened to me, but I've watched it happen to other people where they've gone all the way through, get to the signing. They're like, this is going to happen. And the guy come back and say, we're not going to do it. We're not doing the deal. And you could literally, like, depending on the size of business you're talking about, you could have $100,000 wrapped up in that deal, right? That is just gone. Right. So,
but if it does go through, those people can be really good assets, right? Because they actually genuinely care about the legacy of the business, right? So that's what I was trying to.
You want them to be involved. You want them to, and that's all of the. So the only bit. So my criteria for buying a business, which would be different than some other people's criteria for buying business, my criteria would be is that first of all, I want something that I understand, which is for me that's trades of some kind. For me, that is, something hands-on. I'm not going to do fintech. My wife could. I'm not going to do fintech. I'm not going to do accounting, or there's actually an accounting firm for sale, and we could buy it, but that seems absurd to do because I don't know anything about it, and I wouldn't know how to go about even evaluating it really.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
I was gonna say that's incredibly important. Like, I'd watch a lot of like shows like Kitchen Nightmares and all this and that, right?
Mhm.
And you'd see these guys that become new owners of a restaurant, and they'll come from like the financial field, and they have zero idea about restaurants, and they'll make a ton of mistakes, and because they're treating it as like cold, hard, raw data, and it's like this is a people service industry that you're entering into. You can't work like that, right? So yeah, I think it is healthy what you're saying. You should have some sort of understanding and even better passion about what you're buying, right?
Yeah. So I don't know about a passion, but you need to be able to understand it.
Passion helps, but not necessary. Yeah.
Hey, we got Flow State back. He's home.
Welcome back.
Doesn't have the red lights on, but that's okay. That's okay.
Make me get the red lights.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, you're just stealing Speakeasy's red lights, man.
I know.
God.
And
Everybody's
verbal
stealing
combat.
everything, man. Everything. Everybody's stealing everything. Damien, I want to answer Damien's question really quick. What about obtaining investors? I've never tried. I have had partnerships a couple of times. It never really works out for me. I'm not a good partner. I want to run everything. I want to own everything, and I'm just not that, or I wasn't that guy. I think I mellowed out a little bit, but when I was younger and I was really going for it, I absolutely, there's no way.
Have you become a more reasonable man, would you say?
Actually, I think I'm less reasonable now, but even then I was, it was never about being reasonable or unreasonable before. So investors, that's hard. You might be able to get somebody to give you some money if you could write a good prospectus. PE is always looking, always looking for the next big thing, but they're looking, but you got to meet their criteria, and I think it's hard. I rule that out unless you just happen to know a bunch of very wealthy people that would trust you personally with a large chunk of money. Apparently we stole bricks from people that use bricks. Yes, Flo, you stole the bricks from people who use.
Yep. I actually got this. We got this house just so that I could steal the brick look.
Yep. I'm glad that you did too, because without
and
that,
fuck Speak Easy, I stole it and he can't do shit to get it back.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's see what. Yes, Ghost. We actually do have benefits. They have actually a really decent benefit package. We're still looking into how deep that goes, but yeah, it's. We have all of the employees. Actually, all of the employees has good benefits. Mainly because look, the company I'm buying actually pays more than they have to the employees because it's hard to keep people in the industry, and they don't want to compete for good employees. They want all of the good employees to just come to them at some point because it pays better and it's a good gig. I sympathize with that that outlook. Let's see. With you being a union guy, you don't think you would be a good owner of a company? I don't know. It's hard to say, man. It's a mentality for sure. It's a mentality.
You won't want your employees standing around quite as frequently. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can't stand that.
Yeah. It'd be a hell of a shift to go from a union job over like why are 19 of you standing and watching while one of you work?
Because are you a drywall guy? Do you do drywall? That's what Are We Not Men says. Not gonna lie, though, Flow State does look like a drywall guy. Yeah,
I know a lot.
He's way
about
too
that,
clean
man.
to be a drywall guy.
I was a concrete guy primarily.
Yeah.
I used to do flooring and stuff like that, and the same thing would happen. You'd be doing all the hard work because I don't believe in just sitting there and watching. If I'm going to be paid, I want to work for it, But yeah, 2 people are doing all the work, 8 people are standing around. That kind of nonsense.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. I mean, so look, there's a lot of different types of businesses out there. I mean, I've turned down in the past 7 or 8 years. I've turned down a shooting range, a couple of shooting ranges that I really wanted to get involved with, just the numbers.
It's just because you like shooting, though, right?
I like it, and I was interested in it. I'm like, this would be a great deal, but once you dig
sounds
into
like
it,
it's a low revenue business model.
It can be, yeah. And I kicked myself because there was one that I could have bought. I could have turned it around. I could have made a lot of money on it. Unfortunately, at the time, I got annoyed with the deal, and the seller was just being completely, all right, this is what you don't want to hear, right? I'm going to give you an example of a deal that just walk the fuck away. So these guys had, in Kentucky, they had made $10 million over the last, $10 million in revenue, but somehow managed to end up $5 million in debt in Kentucky. This is hard to do. Every single aspect of their business was profitable except for the hotel that they claimed was soaking up all the money. Now they never gave us a full set of books, so we can't actually tell. It didn't make any sense to me financially.
Is it a shooting range with a hotel?
Yeah, it was 2,000 acres. It had a golf course. It had a golf course, a winery, a hotel, and a fuck is that thing? Golf course. It had a prize. It had lots for private residences between the golf course and the shooting range.
Not gonna lie, none of those sound like profitable businesses.
Right, but the golf course was making money deep in the black. They had sold a bunch of lots for their residential property development. The winery made money. It took for a couple of years.
If you paid off the real estate and construction debt for the golf course, then sure. Now you've got a big expensive asset.
There was they were paying for the real estate, but the golf course had existed since like the 60s and 70s. They've been around forever. So it used to be a country club. This place used to be a country club. That's why I had the hotel. The hotel seemingly was a cash drain, but we couldn't understand why at all, because it was pre-existing. They charged a lot for the rooms, and it was booked more than I thought it would be. So
how much staff did they have to keep on hand?
Not much. Here's what we think. We think that somebody somewhere was that they were embezzling money, and somebody somewhere has like bankers' boxes full of cash somewhere, because they never would give us a full set of books.
Wild.
They just kind of gave us some round numbers, and over 2 million of the money they owed was in back taxes.
Ooh.
Some of which had been because they had not fulfilled their greenway obligations to protect the. Hang on a sec. Give me 1 sec, guys. I gotta mute.
Who do you think just walked in? You think he bought a hooker and they got there early?
Yes.
Think he bought some drugs and they're there already?
Hookers and blow.
Think his wife is coming out to yell at him?
It's his business deal coming to say that they don't want to sell.
My wife was like, I tried your phone and you didn't answer. And I'm like, she's like, you didn't answer. I thought you were dead.
Oh, gosh.
Because I always answer my phone. It's like
hi, Mrs. Grid.
So I do have to wrap up pretty quickly, but let me finish this out. So they had, they were supposed to let a percentage of the land go fallow. They couldn't keep anything on the land permanently, right? So
were they getting CPR payments?
No, it was in Kentucky, but it was a tax. It was a tax, not shelter, but
they get payments like wildlife restoration,
I think they did that too. But they also, on letting the land go fallow, they just didn't pay any property tax on it, and a lower property tax on the entire thing. So, but they didn't do that, and they got caught not doing it. So they got a tax. So that tax credit was wiped out, and actually ended up owing a bunch of taxes. And then there was like, I don't think they had done their income taxes properly. for the business, and it's just a bunch of little things that added up. There were 5.2 in debt, and what they wanted was for me to come in and pay the entire 5.2.
I bet they did.
And I had a group of investors that were going to do this, but they wanted to retain 40% ownership. And I'm like, what fucking sense does that make? We're going to come bail your asses out and we're going to let you own part of it? No.
Can you buy my whole business and then give me half of it?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I was like, none of this fucking makes sense. Like, there's no way I'm going to do this. And at the end of it, it was like, they were like, well, we've got this hotel company that wants to buy the hotel. We've got, we got some buyers to kind of break it up. We got somebody for the golf course, got some, we can break it up. Would you just be interested in the range at whatever price? I forget what it was. And I'm like, no. And they still wanted to maintain ownership. And I'm like, look, I literally told the guy, if I take this back to my partners, they will never do a deal with me again, ever. Because they'll think I've lost my damn mind.
I would like to. I'm selling this angle grinder to anybody who wants to buy it and then let me keep it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. I'm like, who's got what? Like, I couldn't believe it.
Arnie, you need an angle grinder?
Nah, man, I got one, but thanks.
What about?
Yeah,
this?
he'll keep it. He'll keep it nice and sharp for you. All right, guys. I do have to go. Flow State, sorry you didn't get to hang out long. Generally Specific, I see you finally made it in right as I've got to go.
He's pretty gay.
We'll be back on Thursday, same time, Thursday, and then I've got to go down. Yeah, Jack Cooper wanted to buy Yellow when it went under, but Yellow's management stopped it. There's a lot of things like that. Right. That would be a grift, right? If I actually had done that and then let them keep 40% ownership. No, there's no fucking way it's going to happen. And I literally told them, like, there's no way. The people that trust me with their money would never trust me again. And what was worse, what rubbed salt into the wound is I was so pissed off about it that I didn't go to the auction, the tax auction. And I could have bought the whole thing for like $1.5 million.
Come on, Grid, you're better than that.
I know.
Hey.
I should have gone to the fucking auction. I didn't go to the auction. I was like, it's going to go for a lot. There's going to be like a lot of There was 2 bidders. There was one guy that bought one little part of it that joined his property for like 20 grand. And then there was another guy who bought a bunch of it, he's the largest real estate.
You would think that being mad about it would make you go even more so that you could be like, hey, look at this guy.
I was just like, I'm done with it. I'm washing my hands. The whole thing is done. The name of the place was Rock Castle. You can look it up. Rock Castle in Kentucky.
That's what they used to call my house before I got raided.
Funny. I get that. Should I buy some Yellow equipment? If you can afford to buy equipment right now, I would do that. I think that especially trucking, I think trucking is going to be really good. That's not financial advice. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to go. I have to do stuff. I will be back tonight doing the debate on the Reverie, so look for that alert and come in and support me. Everyone, Flow State just peaced out. That's right. Get in the crystal. You guys are going for a ride. We're not doing butt stuff. Everyone, glad you were here. I'm going to send you over to Chaotic Truth if he's still going. If not, it's just going to end. And you guys, be cool. Wear glasses if you need them. And enjoy the song of Andrew Wilson laughing.
Yeah, I just answered your question. Can you tell me what epistemology means?
Epistemology is the study of the epistles. I mean, you can. I told me that a husband and wife is supposed to be the representation of God and the church. He said he's a husband. I asked him if he sees himself as the embodiment of God, and he said no. That doesn't make any sense.
Wait, what is the epistles?
The epistles are the apostles. Are you talking about the apostles?